Afternoon, and welcome to the Town of Surf City Council meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and at this time I'm going to call on Pastor Bobby Owens to come up and lead us in our invocation, followed by Jeremy Shugarts leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Sure. If you would, please stand.
Yes, stand with me and let's give thanks. All righty, our Father, tonight we do praise you and give thanks for the blessing you pour out upon us. We thank you, God, for our community. We thank you for our officials, our mayor, our town council, all the folks that work to make this community just a great place for us to live. We ask your blessings tonight in this season because we thank you for loving us the way you have and that way we get to celebrate it and the birth of Christ at Christmas time. And so tonight, God, I ask you to bless these proceedings. God, help us to just remember that you're a part of every meeting. So we thank you for that. We ask you to watch over us. And God, let us just show the joy that you've given us at this season. We pray it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Turn to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to call on Chief Voorhees to come forward and present a special recognition to one of our police officers.
intermediate certification and his criminal investigator certification. And the state of North Carolina has seen fit to grant him his advanced law enforcement certificate. It is a great feat to get this. There are officers that go their entire career and never are able to attain this. This is a culmination of education, experience, and training, and they just do not give these away to anyone. This is your doctorate in law enforcement when you achieve this, and it's a great accomplishment for him. We're very proud of him. I'm a big proponent of professional development and training for our officers to be the most professional department we can be, and this is just one way that we can take another step towards that. And congratulations, you did a great job. Wanted to touch on one other thing real quick. Our Shop with a Cop, we did No Shave November, where officers don't shave for the month of November. I relaxed the grooming standards, and officers allowed to grow beards. I shaved mine on the 1st because I was tired of growing it. But we do that, and the officers donate, and we also ask for donations from the community. This year, we were able to raise $6,604 towards Shop with a Cop, which is a significant amount of money. Walmart was our biggest donator at $2,500, but all those other donations came in small increments from the Surf City community. It's going to give us the opportunity to take kids from our local community that go to our local school and give them a Christmas they'll never forget. And we're going to go out this Saturday morning. We'll be down in the Walmart Quarters Neck at 8 o'clock with all those kids, taking them shopping. They'll be partnered up one-on-one with an officer, and we'll take them there, and we're going to have a good time. We've always had a good time in years past, and these are kids that really need it. I distinctly remember one year when I had a young man that when we went in, I thought we were going to go to the toy section or go to the video game section. He looked at me and he said, "Officer, I really need some warm clothes and a warm jacket and warm things to wear." So it goes back to the community. It's money well spent, and it's a really great program. Thank you. Didn't make it.
A couple days there, I didn't recognize some of the police officers. I was like, oh, you look different with some hair on your face. But I want to tell you a really quick, funny story while we're still on Shop with the Cop. So this happens to do with my mother, which is she has a hearing impaired a little bit. So she had dropped her keys, she thought, in the mailbox at the post office. And she's like, I can't find my keys. She's like calling 911. The police officers come up. They come over. They were like, "Would you mind if I look in your car?" They look in her car. They find her keys. And she's like, "Oh, my God, thank you." So by this time, my dad's got there trying to help her. And they're trying to give the officers some money. And they're like, "Well, I'm sorry, we can't accept any money." And no, they insisted that they take the money. Well, they said, "Well, we can take it and we can put it in our beer fund." That's what my mom said. And I was like, they did not say their beer fund. She's like, that's what they said, they had a beer fund. I said, no. It's No Shave November. So, yeah.
Their beard.
It was a little comical. But thank you again for all that the police department does for the town of Surf City. Yes. At this time, I would like to call upon Sandy Moreau, which is the chair of the Beautification and Enhancement Committee.
As you know, every month we hand out awards to a business and a homeowner of the month. And what that is to recognize their contribution to the community by either beautifying their yard or their business or donating back to the community. And so this month, our business of the month is JM's on the Water. And I'm looking for Montgomery. Is he?
He's not here.
He's not. Oh, I'm very sorry. So Montgomery Mosley is the owner, manager, person who runs the JM's on the Water over there on Roland. And this year and every year they work real hard with Real Housewives of Topsail Island. And this year they also did some staging and taking supplies up to Western North Carolina. So we're very proud of the contributions that they give to our community. So if you haven't been there, go check them out. Beautiful view. Our homeowners of the month this month reside at 306 North Topsail Drive, and it is Stephen and Lisa Grant. Are you here? There they are. And these folks, come on up. These folks are my neighbors. They live right around the corner from me, and they have the cutest little a home right there on Topsail Drive, and every season they decorate it. They had beautiful fall decor, and now they have beautiful Christmas decor up, and I just wanted to say congratulations, and thank you so much for making it an adorable walk for us on our morning walk with our dogs.
I enjoy doing it.
So if you see a home or a business in the community someplace that you would like to recognize, just nominate them through Beautification at surfcitync.gov, and we'll get that nomination. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to move to the adoption of the agenda. Everyone has had a chance to review the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve the agenda. Next up is the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Do I
Second it.
have a motion and a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve the consent agenda. Next up is public comments, and I will turn it over to Carla to call upon individuals that want to speak.
John Davis.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is John Davis. I live 208 Edgewater Way over there in Waterside. I've been there for about 4 years now. I was actually the fourth house that was built in there, so I've seen it change a whole lot. I just want to address some issues, I think, with the proposal that y'all will be looking at later with the Ziggy Ventures for the location and the egress and entrance there coming off of Edgewater as opposed to coming off 501 and 210. And part of that, my issue on that is just, if the DOT doesn't really think it's safe or valid to be coming off the main highway, now that it's going to be entrances or proposed to be coming off Edgewater, which is in a residential neighborhood, we're diverting every bit of traffic that's be coming through there, right there at a congested intersection already. I agree. I don't know all the reasons behind the DOT rejection of it, but if 100 foot down Highway 50 is not safe or valid, then 100 foot down Edgewater's not either. I mean, you've got children, you've got residents. The intersection is kind of a traffic nightmare anyway. During the off season, granted, traffic's not bad, but everybody here knows what it's like during the tourist season. And as bad as traffic is there, it's just going to be a nightmare. And right now they're tying into a private road. Eventually, that road, I guess, will be turned over to the city if Horton ever completes anything. So at that point, it's going to become the city's issue. Again, my question still kind of comes back: how can Horton give a private business approval to tie into a private road that's not in the city, that you're being asked to approve something that you're going to inherit 3 or 4 years down the road, and all the issues or problems that may incur? So again, I know there are 500 residents in there now, so you got about 800 to 1,000 registered voters that are against this. Just something to keep that in mind. It's not a popular decision or a popular want. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Andy Plow.
All right, to meet my 3-minute timeline, I'm going to read, so thank you for having me here. I requested the council reassess the wastewater allocation policy. Though it's labeled as a policy, it's actually an extension of an ordinance and should receive the requisite attention there too. I submitted a detailed science-based review for your consideration. I hope everyone took the opportunity to take a look at it, and I'll address any questions at the end. The 2023 Comprehensive Land Use Plan sets forth development preferences, which forms the underlying basis and justification for the new policy, and the allocation weighting rubric that's to be used. The preferences were derived from the 2021 Community Survey. The survey has some significant, has some significant flaws. The choice and wording of the options was never designed by or input received from the community, which should have happened, but it didn't. The sample that was a self-selected sample using SurveyMonkey. Only 1/3 of the responses actually came from residents. The other 2/3 came from tourists and business owners. Third, the scale that was used, the important scale, is inappropriate for the research question we were looking to answer. For example, if I asked you to rate the importance of having a car to drive to work, how would you rate that? It's very important to have a car. But if I ask you how important is it to have multiple cars, you might have a somewhat different answer. The survey asked the first question, the interpretation is for the second question, a question not asked in the survey. The allocation policy is based on the results of this survey. It arbitrarily sets limits. Those limits are based on 50% for residential, 50% for other and reserves. Currently, our approvals run 5-to-1. The number of sewer permits that we have in the town is well above that. It's almost 90% are residential, but we're changing this. Seems that we're favoring commercial development. It's also based on a point system. Points are given for certain things, points are taken away, depending on what type of business. Now, let me just apply this rubric to two development options. Imagine Island Family Medical and the Sweet Alicia's ice cream shop were up for approval. Given the rubric that's being used, the ice cream shop wins. Same thing on the residential side. I'm running out of time. McMansions are favored over R5 development. So I'm not opposed to having a stronger ordinance to guide development, but this policy is ill-designed and isn't going to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And I respectfully ask that, why don't we go back and do this right? Thanks.
Thank you.
Questions? Okey-doke.
Jerry Emond.
Hello, Madam Mayor and the Council. I'm Jerry Emond. I reside at 415 Edgewater Way. I'd like to discuss the Ziggy Ventures site approval at the corner of 50 and Edgewater. I'm not against the restaurant and retail, but have concerns about the driveway on Edgewater and the amount of traffic this will bring to the waterside community. There is an estimated ADT of 900 vehicles, which would be 450 in and 450 out. This quantity of added vehicles will be backup traffic at the intersection. The time sequence at this light is very short coming in and out of the waterside community right now. We all know what we went through last summer with beach traffic, as you all helped out get that resolved. We will now have the possibility of this be reoccurring on a daily basis year-round, once people realize Belt Road can be used as an access to get to this property. People do not obey the speed limit when cutting through the community, and with all the children in the community, I feel their safety will be jeopardized with this added traffic. Additionally, I do not see how trailers will pull in and out of the site for deliveries during, after construction. Track-driven construction equipment will be unloaded on Edgewater, resulting in damage to the road, curbs, and walks. Who does Waterside turn to when this happens? Because this is a private road. The town is to take over the streets. The town will want these repairs completed before acceptance, and D.R. Horton guaranteed will not help since it is not their project. The drainage system also should be reviewed further. It appears, according to the drawings, there is a 30-foot proposed drainage swale that cuts through 4 adjacent properties, and the final discharge location is vague in relation to the waterside property and drainage pond. Perhaps during a revision showing waterside pond and walks, as well as elevation contours, will clear up if there is a potential of flooding issues for the community. The system also has an SCM basin, which is the heart of this design. It has an overflow directed towards a waterside walking path. The CMN is designed for a 100-year flood, which is recently exceeded. When a storm exceeds a 100-year storm, there is no guarantee this path will not wash away. Is it acceptable to discharge an overflow onto waterside property? There is also a buffer shown on the drawings, on the landscape drawings. It is not an adequate buffer for noise and headlights. There is 18 to 24-inch plants at 4-foot spacing, and this is not adequate as a noise and headlight buffer. I request at this time that the Ziggy site approval be tabled for a more in-depth review and other options explored for a driveway off 50, a more detailed review on the drainage system, along with a BMP plan to keep their system in proper working operation to avoid a system failure, and a plan revision to provide an adequate noise and light buffer. Thank you for your time.
Kim Brown.
Council. I'm just here just to tell you, I like pedestrian-friendly restaurants, and I live in Waterside, and I was very excited to hear about it until I heard about the entrance being at our entrance. But what I'm really concerned about, and I looked for, the town has no ordinance on emptying what time dumpsters can be emptied, commercial dumpsters. I've heard them at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm hoping that an ordinance can be created so at least they can't be emptied until after 6 in the morning, something like that, because as close as that restaurant is to our development, 2 o'clock in the morning, a dumpster being emptied sounds like a bomb going off. Not that I've been in bomb conditions, but I'm just imagining. So I'd like maybe to revisit an ordinance for dumpsters and emptying and what time, if you're going to develop a restaurant. That's it.
Kim, what was your address again?
Swing Bridge Trail,
I just want to get it for the record. What was the address?
114. I wrote it on the paper.
Normally just say it when you get up here. We don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. 114 Swing Bridge Trail.
That's all.
Waterside.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thanks.
great.
Thanks.
Chad Harrington.
Hello, how are y'all? Hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving and everybody's good for the holidays coming up. Chad Harrington, 105 Sago Court. Just want to address the scooters at the skate park and thank you everybody and the advocating. It's a beautiful park. Me and my daughter's been up there since it opened. She's been on a scooter. She is 8 years old. She is learning park etiquette, how to ride, how to be around other skateboarders. Can she ride a skateboard? Yes, she can on flat ground. Will she go out there with older children, adults, bigger than her on a skateboard? No, she will not, and that's what I choose for her to do. She needs a year or two on that scooter to learn where to go. So does a lot of people that are there as well. And every time we've been, the flow's great. Everything seems to work out, even with her, not her knowledge. Everybody works with her. When we went Tuesday, happened to see the sign and people saying that she couldn't scooter. That was a hard pill for me to swallow, looking at my 8-year-old daughter and telling her we can't come back here no more. So just a issue, and if we are pushing for that and going by the rules of the skate park, which I never seen a rule that said no scooters before the time of Tuesday with the sign, we need to stick with the helmets and pads and stuff. There are many children out there with no helmets, no pads, and could be something detrimental to Surf City, the town, if somebody was to get hurt. I think that if we could look back and figure out different times, better times for younger kids to be there, to allow scooters, if there's something that I'm missing or not seeing. If y'all had asked me 20 years ago if I'd be up here advocating for scooters, no, I would not. Being that it's my daughter, I feel like I kind of have to now, just because I want her to grow up in the sport and learn more from the gentlemen and the ladies that are out there. I just think that need to revisit that and hopefully come to a conclusion where everybody's happy on the issue and everybody can still have fun and enjoy the beautiful park that Surf City gives. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. David Brown.
Hello, David Brown, 114 Swing Bridge Trail. I also live in the Waterside community. Madam Mayor, City Council. Don't really have much of an issue with that entry, but I'm just seriously concerned about the amount of traffic. The neighborhood now is a cut-through, especially on Saturdays and Sundays when all the vacationers come. There's no way to stop them. The road's private. We're not getting any help from Horton. We're trying to get stop signs from them. We're trying to make some headway with that issue. We were kind of hoping that the timing of the traffic light would be changed, because right now it's excuse me, it's basically 3 cars, the light turns, 3 cars will be able to make a left-hand turn, and the traffic backs up. We've had a point where the traffic is backed up over 20 cars at that light. Adding 900 total cars per day in and out, however that's going to work, seems to be a little bit of an issue. I don't know if anybody realizes all of that traffic. There's really no way out of the neighborhood once that happens, because on a Saturday night, you have the traffic backed up at Belt Road all the way to Belt Road, sometimes all the way back to 50 on the turn. That causes a problem, so no one can get out and make a left-hand turn to go to Belt Road. They can't go out at Edgewater. I know we have a road that was done in the neighborhood that goes to the tree line on the back of Go Gas. Maybe someone could give us an idea how we can talk to either the owner of that place to find out what the reason for that road that went to the tree line, which lines up with the road that goes right to the light at Food Lion and Go Gas. I don't know, no one really knows who to reach out to. We don't know if we're supposed to broker that deal. We can't get any information out of D.O. Horton. We're trying to make the thing work, but we're also trying to cut down on our traffic because everybody's pretty much landlocked on a Saturday and a Sunday where we can't get out of the neighborhood. It's a real difficult situation. That's pretty much all I have. Hopefully something with that Go Gas would be a great idea. Maybe somebody could talk to somebody and help us out, to make that happen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
What was the last one?
Okay. All right. Thank you for all your comments tonight, and we will move on into the public hearing tonight. We have 4 public hearings at this time. The first one is the annexation of Jackson Hardison Bats, and I'm going to call upon Carla to present.
Okay, we have an annexation petition from Jackson Hardison and Bats. PIN numbers 42353331610000 and 42352391800000. Totals about 29.53 acres off of J.H. Batts Road. They're asking to be annexed into the town. They have requested, per their petition, to be zoned R5. This did go to Planning Board. Planning Board recommended R10. It's currently zoned RA through the county. And you have maps and information in your packet. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Do I have a second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are now in public hearing. If anyone has any questions, now is your time to speak. If council likes to ask any questions, or if the applicant is here and would like to make any statements, they are allowed to at this time, or anyone from the public can make a statement.
I'll ask a question, Madam Mayor. I understand there's an entrance for this property. Is there an exit at the far end of the property? Or will there be an exit on the far end of the property?
If the applicant wants to come up and answer.
Good evening. I'm Robert Jackson, 640 Maritime Way, Topsail Beach. Appreciate the town council considering my annexation request. The property currently is 2 parcels. There is no connectivity to Little Kinston Road. However, the parcels, the linear foot of the parcels on J.H. Batts allow for 2 entrances there. We haven't designed a plan yet, only because we're currently in the county, under a county zoning, so we had to get to this process first in order to get our engineer and surveyor to start the design process. So that's where we are at this stage, but we do have plans to provide multiple access points. We have plans to provide great walkability and connectivity to the town retail and shopping areas and that kind of thing. But I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I just wanted to plant that seed in the beginning,
Yes, sir.
just to give you a thought about that. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question. Based on the size of the property and what is technically buildable, how many properties could you put in there if it's zoned R5?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that the code allows for 5,000 square feet per parcel based on the acreage, but I think recently the town passed a new ordinance or a provision in the UDO that allows for or mandates that you take out the wetland acreage before you calculate the density amount. This site had a core delineation done, and I believe it was about 5.2 acres in wetlands. So that would reduce the site to around 25 acres in uplands. But of course, we would intend as the developer, and we're unique in the sense that my partner and I, Mr. Hardison, we're both the developer and the builder. So from that perspective, we're designing a product that fits with several, our intention is to design a product that fits with several different price points, which would also be conducive to several different lot sizes. So what we've found, and we've built in the Arbors, Magnolia Reserve, Saltwater Landing, and Poplar Branch so far in the city, in Surf City, and we found that one thing that, in most of those neighborhoods, we just bought lots in. We didn't have the opportunity to develop them. We were the builders that purchased lots. We found that there are buyers that some want a very small yard with not a lot of maintenance, and they're retired, or their kids are gone, and so on and so forth. And then you have some folks, 5 dogs and 8 kids, believe it or not. And so there's a need, in my view, for workforce housing combined with kind of a 55-plus type product combined with a family product. And so we're hoping to design that, which would include common areas and amenities, walkability, and that kind of thing. But I'm kind of shooting from the hip only because we can't design. The first question you engineer asks you is, what am I designing to? Well, we don't know till tonight.
Right.
So that's what we're working on.
So we do conditional rezoning as well, where you could bring us the plan, so we could technically annex it as RA, and then you could bring us your plans and we could then approve them, provided you have this not set R10, R5 as well.
Yeah, I have the badge of being the first conditional use product in Surf City some time ago. Small little thing at Magnolia Reserve. But I am familiar with that process. The base zoning, although, is important to us because we'll be purchasing the land from Mr. Batts and Mrs. Lanier, and you wouldn't, most buyers wouldn't be purchasing that land at RA. So I do think the base zoning is important, but we're also fine with coming back with conditional use. We don't have most of the time, once we get that far, that is our plan anyway. So I've done 2 or 3 conditional zonings in Pender County, and those went very well. Proud to say they had unanimous consent in the planning board and the county commissioners in Pender County, the one I'm thinking on 17. Mr. Brewer was there then. So we're open to that.
I guess my concern at this point is if we were to approve it as R5, then we have no criteria to hold you to after the fact other than you sticking to the codes and zoning and ordinance currently in place at R5.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with that. I mean, if we just have whatever the base zoning is, even RA or whatever it may be, at this stage in annexation, we're kind of both stuck with that base zoning. I actually requested with Amy at the planning board, I said, is there a process by which we can submit for a combination concurrently with an annexation and a conditional use zoning? And the answer was no, and that may be germane to the state of North Carolina. I'm not sure that's not, but I know it's not available in Surf City, but it may not be available anywhere. So the first step is the annexation piece.
Which the annexation comes with zoning, so I think that was part of why the planning board went with the R10, so that there is that higher standard since you're in the coastal residential, which it's written in that they want lower density and more open space. So.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. I did, when in the process of, Mr. Riggs couldn't be here tonight, but in the process of making that application, the land use plan and the coastal, whatever you just said, overlay zoning or whatever the acronym is for coastal residential zone, calls for medium density, and there are 3 categories that apply to that, which is R5, R10, and R15. Those are all considered medium density, at least in the zoning code. But we understand that the town wants to be, have as much visibility as they can to the product. So at this stage, we're coming in to be part of the club, and then we'll be happy to come back. And again, we're going to get an engineer and a landscape architect on the project, and then come back with a solid plan. But we do need zoning to do that.
I think that you're already a part of the club, actually. I think you've done enough stuff around here.
All right.
And I think you have more knowledge probably about zoning in your finger than I do myself personally. So I think that I think you have a pretty good plan put in place. I like what I'm listening to for sure. I don't have any questions for sure.
Okay. I'm happy to answer any other questions if they arise.
I'm good.
Trudy? Yes, sir. Please come up, state your name and address again, please.
John Davis, it's 208 Edgewater Way. I just have a question. When the council talks about annexation, do they have a process where they're looking at the pros and cons of this? As Surf City continues to grow and expand, talk about the infrastructure, everything else, and I understand the benefits if somebody's in Pender County or way the county line's Onslow to become part of Surf City. Are we looking at it to see what the benefit is versus what the cost and negative impact is of becoming in there? I mean, granted, if I'm a developer, yeah, I'd like to come in here, 25 acres, and I can put, that's 100 houses out here easily around Surf City. So, I mean, it's more financially beneficial to them. So is it financially beneficial to Surf City versus the negative impact? That's just a question. Like I said, I don't know how y'all go about looking at it, so I'm just asking that question. Is it out there? So.
Are we allowed to comment?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
John Davis.
Mr. John, I think, or at least the way I try to look at it, you were talking about, let's look at the detrimental, what's the worst side? Surf City's going to grow. It's like trying to stop the tide out there, man. We're not going to do it. But can we manage it? And Mr. Jackson brought it up a while ago about the medium density versus the high density versus the low density. To me, in my opinion, the higher density concentrated in the areas that we already have traffic issues and that creates the detriment. So that's why R5, though it does fall in that category of the coastal residential as medium density, it is the most dense version of medium density. Yeah. So I do believe that's why the planning board had mentioned or had recommended R10 to basically what you're saying, trying to mitigate, all right, what's the benefit, what's the downside, let's try to find something that's in the middle because it's coming. It's coming. Anyway, I hope that kind of answers your question, or at least gives you an idea, understanding of how I see it.
I'm just asking a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis, I just want to say also to his point, I think all of us always want to make sure the juice is worth the squeeze, if that makes sense. And I think we do that. I know that we really do. I think that's something that I know the mayor, the manager, the clerk, all this council spends time making sure that it's going to be worth it. Okay, but there's also the same aspect. It's not my job or the mayor's job or this council's job to tell somebody they can't put something on their property. So we have to find a happy medium, too. So.
I was just addressed to the annexation, to become part of the city. So, yeah.
Got it.
General question.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has any comments to make on the annexation, Jackson, Hardison, and Batts off of J.H. Batts Road? Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and make a comment during this public hearing? Yes, sir.
Maddox, directly across the street, I guess, on Edgewater, and it kind of overlaps what we were just talking about in this one, where if there's going to be a hyper-condensed traffic pattern at an intersection that has 2 lanes on each side with the restaurant that's proposing hundreds of more cars a day and then developing across the street, do we really have a plan for that, for residents to be able to get in and out of there? on high-traffic times?
Well, hopefully this, this developer could possibly bring in some different avenues of exits, as far as moving traffic around. I think we'll see that maybe in some of his plans that he brings back to us.
And is it not, I apologize.
And hopefully, once Coretta Drive is built off of Highway 210, which is on DOT's current map. So we're hoping that one day that will help alleviate any traffic issues that are on J.H. Batts Road.
And is it not possible, and I apologize, I was late to the party, is it not possible for the restaurant on the corner to conjoin parking lots with the commercial lot next to it, to be able to essentially bring more business to both of those instead of dumping all of those cars on a residential road where we don't really have the...
That is a total different subject
Right now,
from
the hearing's on
the public hearing of
annexation.
annexation. Thank you.
Sorry about that. But to answer your question about the plan, when you were talking about the annexation and unfortunately, and I know everybody's not from North Carolina, I am from North Carolina, and unfortunately, DOT and highway plans is a reactive thing. You try to plan, but there's no way to know. Nobody ever knew that J.H. Batts Road was going to be what it was going to be. When I moved here, I never expected to see a 3-lane highway going across the greatest bridge in North Carolina. But it was reactive. Unfortunately, we try to be as proactive as we can, but it just doesn't always work that way. Very reactive.
Very reactive. Is Price here? Is Mr. Price here? Mr. Price? I have a question for you. So looking at this as a development, what, in the event that it's annexed and approved either at R5 or R10, what sort of timeline are we looking at waitlist wise as far as other developments and them even being able to potentially start construction in there?
If, well, they have several projects ahead of them. So if those projects do fulfill and get council approval before then, they're looking at 3 to 5 years.
Before they could even try to get approval for sewer, essentially, or they could.
Get permitted, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment during this public hearing? Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment during this public hearing? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. The public hearing is now closed.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request as town council consider for annexation as presented.
I have a motion and a second, as it is requested that the town council consider approval of the annexation as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
So the motion carries for approval of R10 annexation for the Jackson Hardison Batts property.
Proposed it as R5.
They proposed as R5, but the planning board recommended R10.
But what he said as planning board recommended?
Planning board recommended
Oh,
R10.
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was about to say, you might have messed me up. I was voting for R10.
I was doing 10 also.
Sorry, yep,
Are you back to 10?
I'm back good,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Just for the record, could we just make, whoever made the motion for R10, just so we have it
Yeah,
clear?
I'm
Comment that.
going to make a motion that the town council consider approval of the annexation as presented R10.
Right, and whoever seconded before, if they'll second that.
I'll second it.
Okay, there we go.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. All right, item number 2. This is Applewood Trace project, and Amy Kimes will come back up and present.
Good evening. So in your packet tonight is a request by the developers of Applewood Trace to modify the site plan associated with the CZ-4 zoning. I'm going to give a little bit of long-winded background on this project. In 2006, DCNC North Carolina 1 LLC requested the rezoning of approximately 248 acres from R10 to PUD. This tract of land encompassed the existing villages at Turtle Creek and the approximately 195 acres requested to be rezoned tonight. The Town Council granted the original rezoning at the March 7, 2006 council meeting. The 2006 PUD approval was to be constructed in 7 phases. Phases 1 and 2 of the development, which consists of 72 homes, has been completed, leaving the remaining 350 homes to be built. The property previously approved as phases 3 through 7 of the site plan associated with the 2006 PUD zoning was purchased by D. Logan Homes. The applicant worked through the rezoning process with the town, with the property rezoned to CZ for PUD on November 20th, 2023. The 2023 site plan included 399 residential units with a mix of residential types as well as a small retail portion along the US 17 frontage. The residential portion consists of 181 single-family lots and 218 duplex townhomes. The proposal provided a clubhouse and pool area for its new residents. By retaining existing wetlands and providing active open space, the development provided 104.85 acres of open space. The site plan also proposed a boat RV storage area to be utilized by the residents within the development. The approved rezoning is tied to the site plan and includes the conditions that are listed in your packet. There were 10 original conditions associated with that. As the final engineering and permitting of the project continued, the applicant proposed changes to the site plan while maintaining the above conditions. Changes to the development are noted on the attached site plan, and they include a reduction of the total number of units from 399 to 390. The 48-foot single-family lots will either be 42-foot or 52-foot wide. The cottage-style units have been replaced with townhomes. On-street parking has been removed, allowing for on-property parking within the townhome section of the development. Can you go to the next slide, please, Chris? Do what? Is that the right? That's the old one, but okay. It's okay. There's a new map that's prettier than that one. It'll get up there in a minute, hopefully. If not, let me know, Chris, if I need to connect to the computer. Open space has increased by 6.11 acres. The boat and RV storage has been relocated to a previously vacant area of land and replaced with single-family residential. The pedestrian connection to Surf City Elementary Middle School will connect directly to a residential portion of the neighborhood with a sidewalk as opposed to being routed through the RV and boat storage area. The change in housing type, the single-family homes has increased from 181 to 319, while the cottage style has decreased from 218 cottage-style units to 71 townhomes. There are no proposed changes to the vehicular pattern outside of the neighborhood itself, so all of our connection points are remaining the same. Pedestrian accommodations will be provided along each street per the town ordinances. There's a reduction of 9 units regarding water and sewer consumption and usage. The town will provide water and manage the sewer for this development. The environmental impacts presented in the original environmental document have not changed. The development will provide additional open space and decrease the total built-upon area with this new submittal. The landscaping and buffers will remain the same, so the site does provide a 25-foot property buffer along all property lines, and that will remain with this new plan. In other review, if approved, the final engineering plans will be submitted to the town for TRC review to ensure town ordinances and any conditions agreed upon have been met. And in 2022 and 23, the applicant worked through TRC Planning Board and Town Council to modify the original proposal to receive approval in November of 2023. And as noted in the discussion tonight and on the maps, the applicant is requesting that the conditional district PUD be modified per the attached site plan. With the exception of the modifications to the attached plan, all conditions in our 1 through 10 list originally will remain in place. Planning Board heard this item at the November meeting and has recommended approval as submitted. Maybe. I apologize for the technical difficulties tonight. Go back one, please. That is the new proposed rezoning map. So as you can see, the single-family residential that is adjacent to the existing Turtle Creek, as well as the Edgecombe Estates, has gotten larger, so that the development is now a predominantly single-family residential unit versus a predominantly townhome development. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing on Applewood Trace?
I'll make a motion to open that public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are now in public hearing.
We have updated requirements for parking spaces with the new ordinance, I think, right?
We do, however, this conditional district would follow the ordinance that it was approved under. So they do have the choice if they wanted to go with the new ones. However, it would follow the original ordinance that it was approved under. They're not asking for a modification to that. They have increased the amount of parking by providing 2 parking spaces per townhome unit, where before it was all on-street shared parking. So they have worked to try to increase that parking.
And we require 2 parking spaces for a 3-bedroom, correct? Do you plan to have anything larger than 3 bedrooms there? Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions concerning Applewood Trace? If you have a question, please stand up and state your name and your address, please.
Peggy Arsenault, 288 Atkinson Point Road. So is the number of residents going down?
Yes.
Residential properties going down?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, sir.
They have to get Coretta done quick.
Andy Pyle, 17 West Ridge. Actually, this is for David. Do they have sewer permits already? And if not, their start of building is next spring, will they have them then?
They are currently under state review. You haven't got them back yet, right?
Excuse me. I didn't catch the second question, David. I apologize.
I apologize.
He turned his back, and I only caught the first question.
If not, will they have them when they begin, or the plan is to begin building, which is spring of next year?
We have public water, but we do not have public sewer yet.
We have public sewer, but not public water.
Okay, so we got half the permits. They will have to have both permits before they start laying infrastructure, which you have to lay infrastructure before you build houses.
So, and we have water capacity. I think our
Yes.
water capacity is much better than our sewer capacity.
Yes, on our worst day, we're about 50%.
Mr. Pyle, if you have any questions, if you would come up to the stand.
Since they have sewer permits already, which has traditionally been the stumbling block to get construction started, and they only require water, we have excess water permitting capability because of our water supply is much better than our sewer supply.
That's correct, sir.
Is there anyone else that has any questions, concerns?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name's Sam Frank. I represent the applicant, Turtle Creek Ventures, LLC. With us this evening are Tim Long, an owner with the applicant, and Drew Hatcher, our engineer. It's pretty straightforward, a relatively minor modification to what's already been approved. The nature of conditional zoning in this, and particularly in this case, is that what's currently approved is very specific. And so when we adjusted things, even in that subtle fashion, it means a revised plan coming here before you this evening. Mrs. Kimes did a great job summarizing the changes. I won't belabor that, but I do want to explicitly offer our answers to any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has any comments concerning Applewood Trace? Yes, sir.
John Balgers, 227 Lodge Hall Road. On the previous map, it shows wetlands behind my property, if you can do it to the previous map. So,
Would you like this? Would you like this? Why don't you stand over there and talk about it? Okay, yep.
so this is denoting wetlands, correct? No?
No, that's denoting ponds.
Ponds. Okay.
The wetlands is this like hatch area that kind of snakes up through there.
Okay, so not the green.
Yeah, the green is just open space area that they want.
Okay. And then go back to the new map. Okay, so I guess wetlands didn't go away.
Thank you.
They talked about the ingress and getting into Turtle Creek and not having a stoplight and all the traffic. And it sounds like basically nothing's going to happen. That there's be no light until DOT determines. Is that correct?
Amy, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand. Could you repeat
Okay.
the question?
So basically coming into the current Turtle Creek entrance and getting out has no light. And now this is going to go out to 17. Google Maps is going to send everybody through to 210.
So-
and there's no light. Do we just wait until DOT determines it's going to get one?
So on this particular project, there's not a straight-through connection to 17. The initial project did show a connection, like way back, not with the last approval, but way back there was a straight-through connection to 17. However, that has gone away. So there is a very curvy, twisty, turning, and then you go out of the subdivision, which is a very technical term. You go out of the subdivision and then go out Man Hollow. So it is not a very straight route. And the applicant has to submit an application through NCDOT for those access points. So they're having to modify the original TIA for Turtle Creek because it's a different product and it's, 12 years later. So, the traffic counts and everything aren't still valid. So they have submitted that and there are planned improvements. They are working, I believe, on an update I saw recently through that, but DOT will require the developer themselves to put in certain improvements and not, this isn't like Mr. Cannady was saying, DOT is reactive and has to wait. There are some things that the developer will have to put in, so there will be some type of improvement at Turtle Creek. A signal has been discussed, just figuring out the geometry of that with kind of the weird intersection with Becky's Creek is still having to be worked through, and potential improvements out on 17 will be required.
Okay, so, but basically you can get from 17 through Turtle Creek.
You can.
You can, and there's no requirement to put any kind of light or anything into Turtle Creek for people going in and coming out.
We're still kind of working through that. So in the original TIA, there was conversation about a light at Turtle Creek, but there is some concerns with the geometry and how to line that up with Becky's Creek. So they're working through that process to see exactly what that's going to look like. But they are working on engineering, and DOT will have a requirement for improvements at that intersection, as well as the intersection of, well, I guess it's not really an intersection, but Man Hollow's access point off of US 17.
Okay. Thank you.
Another light to back.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak during this public hearing? Yes, sir.
Dale Eisman, 123 Leyland Way. I'm just like to follow up on what Ms. Kimes was just talking about. Do we have a timetable for when DOT will be able to tell us what they want to do with that intersection? And then where do I pull a string to influence that process?
So, So, there is a review process, and obviously there's been some changes throughout, so there are updates to the TIA as things evolve. That being said, the town holds a little bit of responsibility in that, and that we are not going to issue COs to those residents until certain improvements are put in. So if DOT says at home number 72, you have to do X, Y, and Z, we won't issue CO 73 until that is put in. So we kind of help the DOT with that in saying, okay, this improvement is here, and this improvement is there. An example of that would be townhomes in Waterside can't be CO'd until the improvements are put in at their Belt Road intersections, as well as the Belt Road 5210 intersection. So they can start construction, but they can't get COs until those roadway improvements are put in.
Okay. But we don't have a timetable, like DOT has said they'll make some recommendations or make a decision about this intersection by June 1st or whatever date it might be.
So they have legislative timelines that have been imposed upon them. It depends on kind of where they're at. So the initial TIA analysis, remember, was for a much more dense product. It was for like 700 units. So those improvements, the TIA was reviewed, improvements were put in, additional TIA updates have been made, and I believe there was a question asked recently about this particular TIA. It came in earlier this week, sometime last week, and they are working on it. So it is currently under review.
Okay. Is that TIA new report available?
DOT would have it. I have a copy of it. I don't know that I have the one responding to the question that was asked this week. The original TIA letter approval for the original is in all of the documents that were submitted for the original.
I remember that.
For that one. So in essence, though, your points of ingress and egress are not changing, and the number of traffic is not significantly changing. So there shouldn't be major changes to the TIA that was at that time.
Okay. I just like to see it. I'm from Missouri.
Show me. Are there any other comments concerning Applewood Trace? Any other comments concerning Applewood Trace during this public hearing? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Public hearing is now closed. At this time, it is requested that the town council consider approval of the site plan modifications as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve. Item number 3 is the flood map adoption, and Amy will put on her red shoes again.
I'll be up here a little bit tonight. So in 2014, FEMA began the process of updating the flood maps, with the final maps becoming effective on January 17th of 2025. As a part of this process, the town is tasked with updating the town's flood prevention ordinances to be in compliance with FEMA regulations. So remember, this map and these regulations are what keep us eligible for flood insurance. So on October 1st, we held a public meeting, or a public hearing just like this in council chambers, and we adopted the revised flood prevention, damage prevention ordinances and the map. The updated ordinances were then sent to our NFIP planner with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety, Emergency Management, and Hazard Mitigation section. We had them review it before we presented it to you, but they had a couple more tweaks that they would like for us to make. So they would like for us to change the wording of mean sea level to NAVD 1988 or subsequent datum, and throughout, and then also add coastal A zone where coastal high hazard areas were referenced. And we talked about the coastal A zones previously. The coastal A zone is a building code term, not necessarily a flood term. So they wanted to take that building code term and put it into the ordinance so there wasn't any confusion between the two. So we're just requesting that you adopt this revised flood ordinance that has those changes in it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions?
Does anything in the proposal give you any pause as far as you think this is odd or?
No, it's literally changing.
Sorry, excuse me. I thought we had opened. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open public hearing.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion approved. Carry on.
Same question.
No, sir. It's literally changing the way that they look at mean sea level and making it a more solid reference. And then adding that coastal A zone just is clarification. We're often asked to interpret what codes say. So when we can add words that make it less Amy's interpretation and more the state building code says this, then I am more than happy to add those words.
Anyone else have any questions or comments during this public hearing? Yes, sir.
Annie Plow, 17 Westridge, just a point of clarification. Once implemented, anything that is existing now that may not be in compliance with new will be allowed to remain. So there won't be any required remediation. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. That includes any maintenance and repair to existing violations.
Maintenance and repair up to a certain degree. So if you're going in and repairing and it's really a remodel and it's above a certain cost, then you're going to have to meet the current flood codes.
Right,
But
I think
if
that we
it's-
have a 50% threshold.
But
Yeah.
if you're going in and fixing your siding or your windows or, just a simple
Okay.
repair, then it is not required.
Second question for you, Amy. Part of it suggests that anything that is on a property that inhibits the flow of floodwaters would not be allowed. Those would be walls, fences, and things like that. Can we reconcile that with, and AE is probably most of the island, right? So can we reconcile that then with the various ordinances we have with regard to those types of things?
So, in the VE, you have to have the breakaway walls.
Well, this is in the structure.
There are allowances with that with your application to develop in a flood hazard. So that application gives you the ability to do some of those things that you're asking about.
Okay. So we don't see a conflict between what our building ordinances provide for with regard to privacy fences, retaining walls and things like that with the new rule regarding this? Or are we in conflict?
We do.
Can I build a 6-foot fence in my backyard if I'm in AE?
Yes. You can.
Okay, thank you.
And we didn't change that between the last ordinance and the October
Well,
update.
section 10.
Andy, just ask the question, can you build a fence?
Yes,
Well,
Andy.
no, but section 10 seems to suggest that if the fence, a 6-foot fence that's made not to break away in floodwaters would not be allowed under this particular aspect.
Most 6-foot fences are going to break away in floodwaters. We're not going to over-engineer
What kind of material are you talking about?
Okay, but the brick wall's out, huh?
them. I mean, it depends on how bad your contractor is. The brick wall may be fine, too.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay. Does anyone else have any more comments concerning the flood map adoption, which is basically changing a couple wording in the flood maps? Does anyone else have a comment? Hearing no comments, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a motion and a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to close the public hearing. At this time, it is requested that the town council consider approval of the flood map as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the flood map as presented.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to approve the flood map as presented. Okay, item number 4 is the 412 Roland Avenue special use permit, and Amy will present that as well.
Hi again. So tonight we have a request for an update to the special use permit that currently exists for 412 Roland Avenue. The subject site is located at 412 Roland Avenue and is currently known as the Topsail Island Marina. You can see it highlighted, the section that we're looking at tonight on the map on your screen. Since the marina was approved by CAMA as part of a larger development. Since then, the development has been split, with the current property retaining 15 permitted boat slips, a fueling area, parking, an office building restroom, and a large grassed area. In 2017, a special use permit was issued to allow 8 of the 15 slips to be used as motorized watercraft rentals. In 2022, the permit was modified, allowing for up to 15 of those slips to be used for motorized watercraft rentals. On July 25th, 2023, the applicant received approval from CAMA to increase the number of boats utilizing the existing dockage from 15 to 25. On December 5th of 2023, the council approved an additional modification to the SUP to increase the number of motorized watercraft rentals to 25 units. So at this time, we can have up to 25 motorized rental boats in the dockage area that's shown on there. Tonight, the applicant has requested that the permit be modified to include 3 dry storage structures. Each structure would be a maximum of 48 feet tall and house 108 boats for a total of 324 storage units. The proposed restaurant that you see on the site is not a part of the special use, as it is a by right use and would not require a special use to be there. The property is approximately 4.77 acres and is located in the Central Business District, or C1. All of the adjoining property is C1. The property to the north provides both wet and dry storage and a clubhouse and pool. The property to the south and west house vacant restaurants. Properties across Roland Avenue and North New River consist of retail restaurants and a church. The table of uses in the ordinance allows for boathouse, boat docks, fishing piers, dry storage, and marinas, dry and wet, commercial, to be placed in the PUD and G1 zoning by right, and allows them by special use permit in the C1, MU, and C3 zoning districts. And as I mentioned earlier, this is C1. There are no additional standards regarding this use found in the ordinance. Vehicular traffic impacts. The marina is an existing site with 2 access points located on Roland Avenue. The current site houses up to 25 boats, including privately owned and rental boats, as well as a tour boat company. The proposed site will remove 1 access along Roland Avenue and provide additional access point along North New River Drive. The driveway on North New River Drive will require an NCDOT review and approval. As submitted, the parking area would not have vehicular access to the dry stack area. This is done to limit the interaction between patrons and equipment used to place the boats in the water. As a part of the replacement of the bridge, Roland Avenue was completed as a complete street. This project created pedestrian facilities along Roland Avenue. The applicant would be required to complete the sidewalk that's missing along North New River Drive as a part of this project, so it would connect North New River Drive to Roland with a pedestrian sidewalk. Dry storage will not create additional demand for public utilities. We do have sewer and water capacity available at this site to meet the proposed restaurant. If the special use permit is approved, the applicant will provide either an NCDEQ high-density state stormwater permit or meet the requirements of the Town of Surf City's stormwater ordinances. So we've talked about this before in the conditional districts and whatnot. That engineering has not been done yet because they don't know if they can have this use. So once they find out whether or not they can have the use, they would go back and start the actual engineering of the site. The most recent special use permit does require a minimum of 25 parking spaces for the proposed use. The provided parking will exceed 25 spaces. Our town ordinances do not provide a parking schedule for dry storage. Our town ordinances also allow the Central Business District to be exempt from parking standards, but state if you do provide parking, it must meet our dimensional standards. The applicant will provide additional parking that complies with landscaping and dimensional requirements. Patrons may also utilize on-street paid parking. These spaces are limited to 2-hour parking and would most benefit the restaurant portion of the development, as you're probably out on the boat more than 2 hours. The comprehensive land use plan shows this area as Island Town Center. The language is in your packet from the land use plan, of note is an example, desired use is a water-based commercial and recreation. The comp plan further supports this use in policy 5.1.0, which states dry stack marinas. The town supports the development of appropriately sited dry stack marina facilities, which are an acceptable land use in Surf City. If the special use permit is approved, the applicant will begin the site's engineering and permitting. The site will require state and federal permits, including but not limited to CAMA, NCDEQ, and NCDOT, and possibly Corps permits. As a part of that, they will go kind of to the clearinghouse where they'll talk to Fish and Wildlife, all of the different agencies, and we'll have to get those permits as a part of this. The site will also be reviewed by town staff, planning board, and town council to ensure that all town ordinances, including architectural standards, are met prior to construction. So again, this is a conceptual site plan for your review tonight. We're really looking at the use. Do we approve the use of dry stack storage? Do we approve 3 buildings with a total of 320 something? And whether or not, if we approve that use, then we will look at the engineering and the siting of those buildings. Happy to answer any questions after the public hearing is open.
Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I make a motion to open the public hearing for the dry.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to open the public hearing. This is your chance now to ask any questions that you may have.
Mayor, we do have people signed up.
Okay.
For this one. Hunt, Schneider.
I'm representing the owner, Joy.
Okay,
Canal.
you can stand right there and we'll, you want her to present first? Okay, that's fine. If you would state your name and your company.
Taylor Parker, Timmons Group. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. My name is Taylor Parker, as I said. I'm a certified planner at Timmons Group, and here today is the agent representing the property owner at 412 Roland. As Amy very nicely summarized, pretty much a lot of my initial slides, so I won't belabor those, and I'll jump ahead a little bit. We're here before you requesting that amendment to the special use permit to permit these dry storage facilities. Down. Just a different image for you to see where that site is. The new bridge coming across on the left side of the screen and the old bridge, you can see the gap there above the project site. Again, at the corner of Roland Avenue and North New River Drive. And I would like to reiterate the existing uses on the site currently. The site serves as parking, a gravel lot, office restroom building, a fueling area, permitted boat slips, and the majority of the site is an undeveloped grass field.
And it rains real hard, it's underwater.
It does. All right, shown now on the screen is conceptually what the development would look like on the site. You can see the adjacent existing dry storage facility to the right of the proposed buildings, as well as the adjacent commercial uses along Roland Avenue and North New River Drive. The move of the Roland Avenue Bridge has sort of changed the dynamic of this area with the reduction in vehicle through traffic down Roland Avenue and placing the viability of this site from the water frontage that it has. To address a need in an appropriate location, we are proposing the dry stack use for that reasoning. So as mentioned, the request is to modify the special use permit to allow for the addition of dry storage use, again, showing 3 buildings on the site up to 48 feet in height and 324 boats, and an additional by right restaurant up there in the left-hand corner. Because our request is for a special use permit, as you know, we're tasked with meeting 4 criteria listed in your zoning ordinance. I'm going to go through those criteria now and sort of tell you how we comply with those. The first being that the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where it is proposed. Our proposed plan actually removes the existing fuel station from the property, which currently creates a lot of motor vehicle traffic back in that channel. In addition, the removal of that fuel station decreases motor traffic. It also removes a sensitive use next to an environmentally sensitive area. The additional dry storage facilities will only provide modest activity in the channel, with 4 to 6 boats being placed in there per hour in peak season. The site is also one of...
Repeat that last thing you just said.
In peak season, the 3 buildings will only be putting in 4 to 6 boats per hour in peak season. And that really comes down to there's only one dock and forklifts have to come. It's sort of worked out in reservation system, if you will. You book it, they bring the boat down, and then you get out there, so they can only do so much at a time. The site also is one of few with deep water frontage, commercially zoned, and adjacent to compatible uses. Because of these reasons, it is an appropriate use where we're proposing it, and it will not endanger public health or safety. Number 2, the use will meet all required conditions and specifications. As Amy laid out, we will comply with the zoning ordinance, and there's a variety of local, state, and federal regulations and codes, such as CAMA, North Carolina Transportation, as well as others that we will have to comply with. In addition, the site plan will be reviewed again by staff, planning board, and town council in the normal procedures. Let me go back a second. I just wanted to make a blanket statement. These are our conceptual images that you saw in plan view, just elevated here. So here's a conceptual restaurant location. Architectural aside, this is just sorry. This is just a conceptual model for you to consider. All right, number 3. That the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property. So the site is currently underutilized. As I mentioned before, it's the grass field for the majority of it, and adjacent to it is existing dry storage facilities. Surrounding it, you can see the various commercial uses. So because of that, as in the same use next door as well as commercial uses, and all of it being zoned C1, we don't foresee any substantial impacts to property values. In addition, the proposed dry storage will use quality building materials and architectural features subject to the town ordinance. And the last criteria, the location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the land use plan. The site, as I mentioned, the site and surrounding area are zoned commercial, making the proposed development compatible to these uses. And again, as Amy mentioned, it is designated Island Town Center in the Surf City Comprehensive Plan. And restaurants and water-based commercial and recreational uses are listed as desired uses within this area designation. The development will also meet the following goals outlined in the land use chapter of the comprehensive plan. Policy 5.10 states that the town supports development of appropriately sited dry storage marina facilities. And again, I wanted to emphasize that this site is one of few with deep water frontage, commercial zoning, and compatible uses. So it is an ideal location for this use. Policy 5.1L states that the town supports mixed-use development in the urban waterfront area, and we are looking at this development as horizontal mixed uses with the restaurant on the site as well. And then lastly, Policy 5.1QQ states the town supports beautification efforts in cooperation and concert with the community's continued desired growth. So that is going to go to this image here. So while the architecture shown thus far is conceptual as well as this image, site, as Amy mentioned, site engineering and architecture is the next step in this process, should you approve the SUP. This example image is really meant to show one way that beautification goal could be achieved with the community's input. If the community likes this or some other image, the outward-facing nature of this building creates an opportunity for the town to use as a welcome to Surf City or other mural community-driven decision. So it is just an example. This is a mural picture by a local artist for the example. And then lastly, to really emphasize it, if you can see from there, this is conceptually from the bridge as you're crossing over. So it really is a standout piece as you're coming in that could be a really nice opportunity for the town. And with that, thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions that you might have of me.
Madam Mayor, because it's a special use permit, we're supposed to be swearing in the witnesses.
Yes.
So if I could just have you raise your right hand. Hopefully not. You affirm that the testimony you have just given this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love the mural, and I think removing the fuel station is a big plus for the environment right there. I know there's been some issues in the past with some old contamination, so I think that's a big plus. With the amount of our population growth and visitors, I think the storage is a definitely a much needed product for our community. Now is the time, if anyone else has any public comments, that they can come forward to the podium and speak. And if you just want to stand up to the side, I'm sure you'll be probably answering some of these questions.
Mayor?
Yes.
If we can have everybody that's going to speak on this stand so they can do the oath at the same time.
Sure.
So anybody that's going to speak on this.
Anyone that wants to speak, if you would
still have to be sworn in.
Raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand, please.
Do y'all swear that and affirm that the testimony you will give this board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening. I'm Dan Martin. I'm a resident of Wilmington, but I'm an adjacent property owner in that I own one of the units at the existing Topsail Island Yacht Club. Also representing the board of directors, which represents the approximately 150 other owners of units, all of whom are legally adjoining property owners. I have been in this business for a while, and when I represented developers who were seeking a special use permit, our recommendation, our advice to our client was, get your conceptual plan, go see your adjoining property owners, solicit comments, and see what contributions they can make, what adjustments you can make, so that when we get to the point of appearing before the board or the council, a lot of those issues have been resolved. Not a single owner in this adjoining property received notice of this. We found out last Wednesday when you posted the sign on the property. It may have been posted before that. That's just not the way that I think is the best procedure when you're considering a project of this nature and this magnitude. Aside, let's focus on the application that you just heard presented to you by the young lady from the Timmons Group, and particularly on items number 1 and number 3, which are part of the findings that you have to make in order to grant the special use permit. It's devoid of facts. These are all conclusions that are stated here, but there is no facts presented. There are no studies to talk about the boat traffic in what is known as Yao Channel coming to where the restaurant will be and into the marina area. The fuel dock we will speak to that in just a moment. The fuel dock is not going to limit taking that out is not going to limit the boat traffic. It's going to, by putting a restaurant there, you're going to increase boat traffic. The boat transfer issue, when you have a thunderstorm on a Saturday in July, the boats coming into that area is going to be a serious safety issue when we know from our marina now, on an average of 60 boats out a day, a lot of which will try to come in at the same time in that narrow channel, in that dead end, is a problem. You take a proposed development of this size, 170% larger than the Topsail Island Yacht Club, you can do the math. That's a heck of a lot of boats in a very small congested area. Safety issue. The developer just didn't provide the facts that you need, I think, as a town to make a decision here tonight. Now, I do want to emphasize that an owner should be able to make free use of his property. It needs to be consistent with and not overburden the facilities that serve other properties around it. This size of this proposal is really going to be a problem for the whole community, the boating community particularly. One more point, parking, we can do the math and we'll share that with you. Parking is inadequate for a restaurant and for a dry stack facility with 324 units. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Alex Jack, 119 Swingbridge Trail. I guess I have less of a statement and more of a question, and I assume it's probably Ms. Gimes early in the process for permits and everything like that. I guess my concern is making sure that a building of that nature and that size is going to be hurricane resistant. That building's right downtown, so one storm coming through, knocking that over will spill boats all over the main access road up and down through town, as well as the main commercial center out on the island. That's.
Sing first.
But yeah, like I said, I assume that'll get addressed in the zoning and construction permitting process, but I think it's especially something important to consider before just going ahead and saying, yes, I approve it. Personally, I have no issue with the use itself. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Frank Voley. I'm actually a resident of Wilmington, but I have property here on 416 West Wilmington Avenue. I have a number of concerns. From a safety standpoint, as designed right now, the forklift will be dropping boats in directly adjacent to the pool at our current facility. I'm on the board of Tops Island Yacht Club also, which to me, it does present a safety issue. The forklift will be within probably 8 feet of people sitting at that pool there. You have noise concerns, fuel concerns, and just the noise sitting there by the pool. I do think it does impacts the value of the property there. So there is some impact on the value of the property. The other big safety concern is the boating channel. During peak times, we'll drop maybe 60 boats in during the day. That's just going out. They have to come back also. This facility is, again, Dan, I mentioned 170% of what we currently have. So if you just do the math, that says they might be dropping 100 boats in during peak times, which puts 160 boats in the water and 160 boats that have to come back. And that doesn't include, what the restaurant will bring in also. Another thing in the plan, there's no facilities. There's no bathrooms or anything in the plan. So what, and I guess this is a question for, what's the plan for using facilities, a bathroom or anything?
So that would come, so we're looking at the use, that would come and be a part of their restaurant facility. So if they needed that, they would have to have bathrooms or whatnot, but that would be designed later on.
But that's for all the people that are using the boat stack also. Because again, during a peak time, we'll use probably about almost 30% to a third of our dry slips. So again, you multiply that out, that's a significant number of people there. Now, if they're going to have nice bathrooms there, I guess they could use that in the restaurant. But I'm just saying that seems to be a concern.
They already have to have bathrooms for the use that they have, so they will have to have additional bathrooms. So for the boat rentals, they're already required to have bathrooms, which are in the back of the little fancy building that's there now.
Right, and they have 25 slips right now, not
Yes,
325.
So they will have to have additional bathrooms, but we're not to that point in the design phase.
Okay. Also, you had mentioned that 25 parking spots would be adequate. And again, we have 55 parking spots during peak demand. Again, we have 60 or 65 people there. So it's difficult for us even to park. So again, if you do the math, they would need about 94 parking spots just for the boat facility Again, not for the restaurant facility. I don't know what you're planning on parking spots for the restaurant facility, but you would need more parking for both of those situations. Anything else? The other thing, again, from the aesthetics, and it's nice that you're going to put a big mural on the side of that, but I do believe when you're coming into Topsail Island and into Surf City, and I love Surf City, and I love how it's being developed, but to me it gives this, and again, we already have dry stacks there. By adding 3 more dry stacks there, it is going to have somewhat of an industrial look as you come into the Surf City. So I don't really believe it's in harmony with what you all have been trying to develop here. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name's Hunt Reifschneider, 125B South Boca Bay. I'm also a board member of the Topsail Island Yacht Club. And I'm here to make those guys look good and sound good because I'm horrible public speaking. But not a lot to add to it other than, for me, there's a statement about injuring proximate properties. And for me, a guy who's been in business my entire life, if you dump a lot of excess whatever inventory into a market, the prices are going to decline. So if we put in 324 new storage facilities in the town of Surf City, the prices would go down in order for them to fill those new facilities. So I've got to believe, or all my business sense tells me that if you're going to dump 324 new dry stacks, the price values for the Topsail Island Yacht Club owners is also going to go down. And I think that just needs to be talked about as we go forward. Number 2, I'm passionate about this town. I've met most of you. I love volunteering. I want to do everything I can for Surf City. I think there's a plan to long-term downtown have a slightly different look and feel. Again, I don't know that this is going to match that. I don't know what your vision is, but it doesn't seem like it's going to quite match. But you guys can work that out. But that's a personal thing for me. I want to have pride in my town and my city. And I think the last thing for me is I wanted to understand the long-term sustainability. So I've been in front of you guys once before on a different issue, and it had the same question, which was, I know there's a plan up front, but I also want to know what the plan is for 10 years and make sure that it's going to be what it's supposed to be 10 years from now. So whatever you decide to do, I hope there's a plan that we can talk about that's going to make sure that it's sustainable for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Hunter Taylor, 171 Atkinson Point Road. I am the manager of the Topsail Island Yacht Club, and I was asked by the board to speak on operational issues. In looking at what we did this past year as far as launches, and you have to say, okay, well, you launched this many boats, and then you have this many boats come back. You also have boats that are out there somewhere else, the private docks, so you never know when they're coming back in. If our experience is going to be like their experience will be, there are owners who will rent a slip and then take a boat to a private dock for the weekend or the week. So there's a lot of different things that can affect the traffic in the channel. And like they said, our peak days during the busy season are about 60 boats a day. And some of those don't come back. Some of them are out in the waterway just hanging out. So you do have kind of a question mark as to how many boats will be going out and coming in. If you limit the amount of boats that are available to go in the water, that will just limit the amount of boats going in the water. How do they come back? So with that, I don't know that having that many slips in that channel, which was congested previously to the point where we had to go to wildlife and get it declared a no-wake zone. We also have an issue with there's a fire hydrant on our property behind our pool, and the way that this plan is drawn out, it doesn't allow any access to that fire hydrant. So if the fire department had to come in and use that hydrant, it would be difficult to get the hoses over to it. And then as far as dock space, we have an issue when we have boats come back in. We have limited dock space, so it depends on how many boats you have out when they come back in. How do you get them out? How quickly can you get them out? And then how long is that forklift going to run at night if they have to stay out late to get boats out of the water? And the other congestion problem is the boat rentals on the north side of us, and also the homeowners over there that have boats. They come through that channel also. So it's narrow where we are, and it does open up a little bit in that turn, but everybody's going all these different directions. We've had some near misses already this year. So I think that it's probably not a good idea for that many slips. If there is approval of the dry storage special use permit, I would definitely recommend that it be not 324. Thank you.
Thank you.
How many slips are currently at the yacht club at y'all's?
Dry storage?
Mhm.
192.
And how many wet slips do you
We got space for probably 15 to 16 boats, depending on the size. Which, the other thing on their permit for the extra boats, there's a 40-foot finger pier on that side, and they're showing 2 boats on that 40-foot finger pier, which would mean realistically those are 18-foot boats. So you can't get 30-foot and 35-foot boats, which are the size of the buildings proposed. You can't get that many boats in that area. So really the 25 slip figure is kind of pie in the sky as far as boats, because our average boat is 23 feet.
What is the acreage of the adjoining property? The acreage of the adjoining property?
Our acreage? I don't know. It's smaller. We're smaller, and our parking lot was basically, the original design was 2 more buildings on that site, and the parking lot we have is where the buildings would have been. And early on in the project, when the original developer was shifting gears to develop the other property, we had many discussions about building more buildings as per the plan that he got approved originally.
Do you remember how many buildings there were in that original plan?
So it would be double what we have.
Okay.
And we basically made the decision to not build those because of the lack of water, the lack of dock space. It just wouldn't be feasible. That'd be 384 boats. So yeah, they shifted gears just for that reason.
That scenario, that would have included everything. On the original proposal with the 4 buildings, would have included all the wet slips that you see now, even though they're separated.
Yeah, we would have had use of all the entire dock structure, yeah.
At what year there was a foreclosure? In what year? 2000?
Well,
Was it 10 or 11 that everything there?
I think it took till 10 or 11 before the actual foreclosure happened, and the auction was in 2012.
The 2 dry stacks that are there now and the yacht club were they were separated from the rest of the property at that time?
We were a community association already,
Okay.
so the bank could only attach the developer's unsold slips.
Okay.
And that's what they auctioned off later.
Okay.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're up, Peggy.
Peggy Arsenault, 288 Atkinson Point Road. My concern is the boat traffic, and when you come out of that section and zigzag over to Sears Landing, that waterway there, we were supposed to get that made to no wake zone.
Yes.
Where does that stand? Because that's going to be a real mess if it's not a no wake zone and you put more boats in there. It's really dangerous. Thank you.
I understand that's in the process.
The Wildlife Resources Commission approved the no-wake zone in October. The town has already purchased the signs and issued a contract for a piling installer, so that will be happening in the next couple of months.
It's bad.
Yeah.
So that's bad.
Ma'am.
But if you build those things, they might sink there anyway.
I think I'm the last member of the Topsail Island Yacht Club board, Robert Green from Hampstead, North Carolina. So just wanted to reiterate, my colleagues did a great job, I think, of covering everything, but reiterate the concerns around 3 of the key points with the special use permit. The first being safety and public health. I think the team's done a great job of really highlighting some of the significant safety concerns. And again, as a boater, who's been caught in the weather and trying to seek cover. Hopefully you guys can appreciate that small area and a no wake zone that leads into it, and the issues this would present. The second is the devaluation, again, with a significant number of slips coming into the market here, and the history of what we have, I think that should be something that's that certainly bears into the decision. And then finally, thinking about location and character, with our colleagues pointing out the concerns around parking and the challenges that we already face with our 192 slips and the addition of 324 with what appears to be very minor, very small areas of parking. Just wanted to reiterate those concerns, so thank you.
Thank you.
Hawley, by the way. Was there any study done on the boat traffic for a facility this size? Because you mentioned 4 to 6 an hour, but yet, like during peak demand, we'll put 60 boats in the water. And really, that's probably over, I know we're open more than this, but probably over about a 6-hour period when most of those boats go in. So we're talking more like 10 an hour during those periods. So I was just wondering if there was actually a study done, just like we do roads, like a traffic study for the boat, for the waterway there.
No official study done. It's based off of, like I mentioned earlier, apps, reservations, and how quickly the forklift. So unofficial numbers is the 4 to 6 per hour, if that helps. And that's really based off of the time it would take a forklift to get to the boat, get up there, bring the boat down, come down, put it in the water, and then until the next reservation.
Okay, I'm not really that concerned about your profitability,
No,
but if you're only going to drop 4 to 6 boats in.
It goes back to how many boats then would be in the channel, because it all is tied to the reservations and how the boats come down from the slips and then into the water. So study or not, for that purpose, that's how they're getting into the water. There's been no formal study on the removal of boats with the reduction or removal of the fuel station, but there will. The fuel station, we've heard, is a big source of traffic jams in the channel, if you will. People coming in, coming out, really no directional traffic. And so the removal of that, we perceive the traffic going down in the channel, as well as the slips will be for the dry dock users. They will not be rentable. So those will be the staging areas for this. I wanted to make that point known that, so the concerns about congestion on the docks, rental boats coming in and out, it will all be for the dry stack users.
What about the restaurant?
The restaurant, they'll be for dry stack users, so if you have a permit to get there and park there, you can, but if you're going to the restaurant, that would be your use of parking lot to get there, or you use the bike and pedestrian facilities in town.
Again, I would say, how are you going to police that?
Permits.
All right. All right, thank you.
What was the app you were talking about? Ms.
Oh,
Taylor?
sorry, it's, this is based from our property owner of the site. He has mentioned that there's a reservation system, that you use when you have this facility.
Back up to I'm confused. We don't have a dry stack, but you're talking about reservations.
It's an app for the boat rental, so the
Oh, you're talking
owners
about the
of
boat rental place.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry. I might be mixing up.
I
my
thought maybe you were
sources.
talking about another business that you were bringing over historical
No,
data.
this
I
would be-
apologize.
This would be for the owners of the dry stack slips, if that helps.
Can you back up to the podium?
So basically, we're talking about freedom loan reservations. Freedom
Yes.
loan, freedom boats.
Freedom. Yeah.
Freedom boats, okay. Freedom loan. They used to do my grass.
Is the boat rental business that's currently there, they're not going to be there any longer?
It will be for the dry stack.
So it's
users.
just for dry stack owners?
And it'll be storage, or, oh gosh, what's the word? Excuse me. Staging area.
So there's no intention to do rentals out of any of the dry stacks
There
then?
will still be slips, but no rentals, yes. The slips themselves in the facility might be a rental, but that's up to whoever owns that slip.
So at the time of, let's just say CO of this property, there will be no more Freedom Boats rental out of the wet slips.
Let me confirm that with the property owner. Can I respond to that in a little bit? Thank you.
Will the individual slots in the building, are they being rented or they are owned?
Owned or rented.
Yeah, if the owner wants to rent.
Depends on the owner of it. They will be individual owned slips, and depending on that property owner, they'll have their own rights to it.
That's where I was going. Thank you.
So with the removal of the fuel area, are you planning to have like portable fuel stations for your boats?
Yeah, it'll be just for the dry dock area. But will no longer be on the outside for the public use.
There will be fuel on site.
Fuel within the dry storage. So it's not like a gas station on
It's not
a
an
road.
underground.
Yeah, it's for fueling up the boats before they get put into the water.
There's still going to be fuel on site. It's going to be an above-ground tank near the water.
How the fuel looks, I cannot speak to, but
It'll
it
be
will.
on the property.
Yeah, but it will be on and privatized to the dry dock owners. It will not be now a publicly accessible gas area on the property.
And there's no way of knowing where the placement of that is, according to this drawing, correct?
Correct. This, as Amy had mentioned, what we're here before you today with is a use on the property. The detailed site engineering plans and all of those permits that come next, we're waiting to do until we know that this use can be on the property.
I think I'm in agreement personally that it's not enough parking space, but is that parking planned on being done in conjunction with the dry stack buildings?
So the phasing, I cannot speak to until we get into the engineering drawings. However, there's an opportunity for shared parking there with the boat users as well as restaurant. There might be different hours of operation depending on the restaurant user, as well as the on-street parking. As Amy mentioned, the ordinance does not require parking minimums for dry storage facilities. That goes for anywhere in the county or town, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so there's no ordinance requirement for parking on dry dock. So this is over and above what would be required.
Still try to use common sense, I'm sure.
Yeah, so in that scenario, the restaurant, I believe it's 1 per 80 seats or 1 per 4 seats minimum.
So nobody will be able to
Yes.
go to the restaurant because all the boating people.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Madam
Yes,
Mayor,
yes.
the questions and things coming from the audience cannot be picked up by the recording. So if there's
Yes.
questions from the audience, you have to get in line and ask those questions. Sorry.
I would also like to correct myself from earlier. The fuel on the site for these slips will be a fuel tank that comes on. There will be no permanent fuel on site after the removal of the fuel station. So it will come and go for the dry dock use.
So it'll be come and go as needed?
Yes. Yeah, trucks, no permanent structure for fuel on the property anymore with this development.
You'll have a fuel truck that comes in and out of the facility to fuel up however many boats require it at that given time, which means you're going to be utilizing your lift to get all of the boats up and down that need fuel at that time as well.
I can't speak to the operational procedures of how they get fueled. I just wanted to correct myself on if there would be fuel on site anymore.
Do you need to come back up? Please do.
I'm still Frank Foley. I did want to reiterate one thing that Dan had said, that it really would have been beneficial for Timmons Group to come and speak to us, since we do have some experience, with a boat stack facility. And the other thing, you mentioned again, the boat uses, and I really think the major concern is the safety in that channel, because I think the boat traffic in that channel is going to be extreme, and you're using some boat rental facility to get that 4 to 6 number, and you didn't even go to any type of dry stack facility and say, how many boats go in and out on a 325?
Sir, please speak into the mic and speak to the board, not the.
Sorry. I mean, you didn't get any type of study. I think before you could proceed with anything, some type of study on boat traffic on a boat facility, not this boat rental thing with 14 boats, to come up with an actual study to see how the traffic will be impacted in that channel. It is a big safety concern. And like Hunter said, it's not just the 2 dry stacks.
Right.
There's other boats that come by there. And now we have one restaurant that has docks there, and we're going to have another restaurant that has docks there. And if you look at, and you should have done a count also of the actual boat traffic to use the gas dock to see if it's actually offset by that much, for what the restaurant's going to bring in. So I just think there's going to be an extreme amount of boat traffic there during peak times. On a day like today, it's not going to be a problem. But, on like a July 3rd weekend, forget it. I mean, it's going to be dangerous out there.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Peggy Arsenault, 288 Atkinson Point Road. I agree with them. The boat traffic in there is a lot. And you guys got JM's, you got the fish market, and if they're going to put a restaurant in there, but they won't be able to go to the restaurant because there's no parking for it for the boats, nor for the cars. So I don't know, but I just think right now it's a lot of traffic, and it doesn't even have to be a big weekend for it to have it. So I think a lot more needs to be looked at before we agree to let them do this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I have another question for Taylor. On your rendering, your building looks like it's almost on the edge of the road, and I know you can't necessarily speak on the
Let me go backwards.
existing buildings, and maybe we can bring up one of the board members for that. The setbacks are so different. I'm curious what that's about, if that's just because it's a conceptual drawing or if that's trying to be accurate.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but the setbacks in C1 are 3 on the sides. The landscape, I don't know that this is working anymore. The setbacks that are required for C1 on the side is 3. The front yard setback is 10, and there's a special consideration in landscaping that is a 6-foot buffer for these dry stack facilities. So this rendering is conceptual, as I've mentioned before, and the ordinance requirements will have to be complied with. Again, this is to see if the use should be on the property, and as we've stated, there is an existing use of this nature next door. It's deep water frontage, and to keep this use from going elsewhere in the town, it feels most appropriate to site it next to something that is already there. And I would...
I could agree with you if it was a little more similar. It looks out of place being so much, it looks like it's a Lego.
So the original approved plans, again, please correct me if I'm wrong. The original approved plans for the adjacent dry dock storage, I believe it was 4 buildings or 3 buildings, and they're all same exact dimensions, maybe a little bit different in the length or width by 5 feet, but they're 48 feet tall, 4 stories, and the original plan for next door was actually to put buildings on the property as we've shown it here. So, or on their parking lot, and then we're putting it right up next to that. So in a way, this development is following through on a plan that was presented in phases years ago.
Thank you. Miss Peggy, you cannot be whispering right there. You have to be quiet, please.
Taylor, come up real quick. I'm sorry. So Taylor, I want to first apologize for being in the lion's den. Okay, it's not easy to do this. For starts, okay? I think that you've done a good presentation. I think I speak for myself. I'm sure a lot of the council feels this way. It's not really our determination to tell a person what they should do or not do with their property. I think we can all agree with that. However, there's a lot of unknowns and variables here, correct? And that's what you're trying to sort out. I think you should stay away from only 4 to 6 boats an hour. That weakens your stance. You should stay away from that for sure, because we know that that channel is a nightmare. If you live down here and you're in that channel in the summer, just not July 3rd, for about 120 days, it's not safe, okay? We know there's gonna be, we know you're gonna put a restaurant there. It's gonna add more boats. Captain Mike's is gonna have a new restaurant. It's gonna be more boats. Hardee's is gonna put a restaurant there. There's gonna be more, it's inevitable. There's gonna be more and more and more boats, okay? What I'm concerned about is, for example, you talk about our Island Town Center, about this is the aesthetics of this is what it complements, it's compatible and it's harmonious to what we want and what we want to do down there. I'm not sure that with your presentation, if that makes sense. Okay? So with that being said, I think that I'm at a place where, I'd like to see us, this rolling at this, this process. I'd like to see some different architectural and landscaping plans from our staff that are more consistent with what our vision of this town center is, because we all know we want to change this town center we want to make this town center so it's iconic down here, and we want to make sure that this fits into that. okay? Not saying it's not possible and it can't happen. It's just, I think if you stick to less traffic, you're not going to win that battle. Just stay away from it forever. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you that real quick. Yeah, I'm just saying to you, and I'm saying seriously,
Less traffic,
you,
don't
you
win.
started off great, and then what you did was what you really did was says, oh, by the way, here's a knife. You might as well just knife me to death. Okay. No, I'm just saying because I start talking about this, and that's not going to work here. Okay. So anyway,
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'd like to say, I think what we heard here tonight from the citizens with what we know, what people know that live here, that like Jeremy said, I think you need to go back, not so much to the drawing board, but go back and try to answer some of these questions and come back with that to say, okay, because I have one problem. When you said portable fuel truck, I have a problem with that. I don't think that's safe. We don't want a gasoline truck that's got 5,000 gallons of gasoline driving in and out of the parking lot, coming across our bridge every day, twice a day. I mean, I don't even know how you're going to manage, unless you're going to have the guy on speed dial and say, okay, come on over here, we got 4 more boats to fuel, and then he's going to leave 2 hours later, hey, come on back, we've got 4 more boats to fuel. I just, the safety aspect of that is worrisome to me, personally.
Thank you. So, does anyone else out here have anything to say? Anyone else have anything to say concerning the special use permit? All right, so the applicant is asking to modify the existing special use permit for 412 Berlin Avenue. The existing permit allows for 25 motorized watercraft rentals to operate on premises. The modification would allow the addition of 3 dry stack buildings totaling 324 storage spaces to be placed on the vacant area of the marina. The land use plan, which has been worked on for the last 2 years by our town planning department, supports this in policy 5.1.0, which states dry stack marinas. The town staff supports the development and appropriately site dry stack marina facilities which are an acceptable land use in Surf City. So I just wanted to clarify that for the last probably 3 years or more, the town has worked on a comprehensive land use plan. The planning board has worked on it for many, many months. The town council has worked on it for many months. So it is something that was approved before, and it is in our comprehensive land use plan. It's not something that we're just saying, off the hip should or shouldn't be there. It is in our comprehensive land use plan. But at this time, before we move any further, I would like to call a 10-minute recess. Do I have a motion to call a 10-minute recess?
I'll make a motion to call a 10-minute recess.
Do I have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are in a 10-minute recess. Okay, at this time, we are still in open session of the public hearing. Does anyone else have anything they want to state during this open hearing?
Do we need to officially come back from the recess? Yes. Since we made a motion to recess?
Do we need, no? Any other comments during the open public hearing? Hearing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Public hearing is now closed. At this time, it is requested that the town council consider approval of the special use permit as presented.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to motion this and table this to April 1st of next year in order to bring some architectural and landscaping plans back to review from the town staff with the consistency of our Iron Town Center, if I could, please.
I have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say yes.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries to table the special use permit until April 1st of 2025.
Madam Mayor, just for the public, since it was tabled to a date specific, if you'll just go ahead and put that on your calendar, because that's when it will come back before the board. I just want to make sure everybody knows that will be the date. It may not be advertised as well. You may not get a mailing, but it'll be on that April 1st date.
Okay, guys, guess what? Good news. There is no old business. So moving forward to new business. The first item is the 2025 meeting schedule and holiday calendar. And Carla will present.
You have that proposed schedule in your packet. There are no changes to the meeting schedules except denoted by stars, which for the council, there are two, and that would be Good Friday. We would move that date to the following. And then on Election Day, we would move it to the Wednesday of that week instead of Tuesday. There are other denotations on committee meeting schedules for the same reasons for holidays.
Thank you, Carla. Is there any discussion concerning the calendar?
Yes, Madam Mayor. So I'd like to make an amendment to schedule the schedule. I'd like to move the March 4th date, which is the first Tuesday, to the second Tuesday, which is March 11th. Number one reason, it's spring break that week for Topsail, and being half the council potentially may miss the meeting, and 4 out of the 5 council members have teenagers or younger, so it keeps that week available for them. It's good planning. Family's important, and I'd like to obviously make that move.
Trudy, will you be in town?
No.
Trudy will not be in town. Alicia, will you be in town?
It could be.
Yes or no?
It depends. If there's a meeting,
know,
I will
right?
be here.
I went
John, will you be here?
Yeah.
We have,
Be here.
Hugh? A yes, a yes, a yes.
I won't be here,
You
no.
know,
I will not be
we
here.
have so 2.5s and 2 no's.
I'd like to make a point as far as changing this date of this meeting. It would be advantageous for us to have all council members here, being we're coming off a retreat, which potentially will have things that will need to be discussed and might need to be passed. I think because it's 4 months away, that to change the date, I don't see that be a big problem. And you know that I'm one that's here all the time. I'm always at these meetings, but I just look at it from a point of view of planning it and deciding way in advance. It's not like it's 2 weeks away. We're talking 4 months. I don't really see any problem to change it. I would agree to change it if we.
I'd like to see it change. It's Pender County Schools spring break, it's UNC Wilmington spring break, it's Cape Fear Community College spring break. It's a lot of people who could be missing that week, and we have more than just council. We have town employees affected by that schedule.
So that usually it's always considered to be the first Tuesday, and the third Friday of every month is our calendar. However, if the town council cannot make these meetings and we don't have a quorum, we cannot move forward with business. So it is basically up to y'all to make a vote. I will not be able to do the meeting the following week on March 11th, so please do not schedule it that day.
I think that's a reasonable request.
You could do the 14th, though, right? You could do the Thursday.
I could do Thursday.
Make it Thursday, if that accommodate.
I didn't check Thursday. I checked 11. Let me look. I'm trying to check mine too. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
On what date?
March 14th.
It's a Friday.
13th, sorry, 13th.
I have Eastern Carolina Council meeting in Newbern, but I can change that. I can miss that.
March 13th, Thursday.
Sorry about
Everybody
that.
agrees to March 13th?
Yes.
4:30 p.m. the same time?
Yes.
Mhm.
So I would need a motion to, or just a consensus, Carla? Is this a motion? A motion to move the March 4th meeting to March 13th at the same time.
I'll make a motion to change the meeting date from the 4th to the 13th of March, 2025.
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
We'll change the planning board.
Yes, it's going to affect everything that month, so it's going to make a lot more work on staff. So next item is number 2 would be under new business, the beach nourishment eminent domain resolution, and Kyle Brewer will present.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. This resolution before you is to essentially identify the properties in which the town needs to move forward with to exercise eminent domain for easement execution. This is directly related to the upcoming Banks Channel navigation project as well as our Army Corps project. So both those projects are consistent with the easement language, and if the attorney wants to add anything into that, but essentially we've whittled it down to these properties that have not submitted their easement documentation for us to be able to move forward with putting the sand on the beach.
I would just add the location we're talking about is the beach, right? So it's dumping the sand that's coming from the dredging project onto the beach. And we actually think it's going to enhance the value of the properties that own the portion that we're just getting the easement for. So the easement's just to put sand on the beach to nourish the beach and make it so that everybody can use the beach and continue to use it. And certainly this is the last step. We don't like to go through this process, but it's something, if the town wants to put sand in those areas, we're going to have to go forward with the process.
Does any of council have any questions concerning this process? Hearing none, do I have a motion to consider approval of the resolution as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 3 is Ziggy Ventures LLC site plan approval, and Amy Kimes will present.
Before you tonight, Ziggy Ventures LLC is requesting site plan approval for the NC 210 ZV commercial site plan consisting of 6,500 square feet of restaurant and retail space. The project is located in the southeast quadrant of NC 50 210 Edgewater Way intersection. The project will have a full access driveway on Edgewater Way, which is a private street, and will not have direct access to NC 5210. The applicant has provided the property deed, which allows 2 accesses to Edgewater Way to be granted to this property by the original developer. The applicant provided trip generation per the NCDOT ITE trip generation guidelines. Based on these standards, the project will have an estimated trip generation of 900 daily trips, with an AM peak of 64 and a PM peak of 76. When we talk about trip generation and trips, remember of that 900, it's enter and exit. Each enter counts as one and each exit counts as one. So it's not 900 cars and 1,800 times they're hitting the signal. It's 900 times that an entrance or an ingress or an egress occurs within that. It's also assuming that this restaurant is a full-day restaurant. To get that 900 trips is assuming that it's an all-day restaurant. So some key points on this project. A sidewalk will be placed along the NC 5210 corridor to connect with the existing sidewalk crosswalk along Edgewater Way, as well as the adjacent retail shop. The project will receive water and sewer from the town of Surf City. Due to the site being greater than an acre, the applicant will be required to obtain a sediment and erosion control permit and a state stormwater permit from NCDEQ. So NCDEQ will review the pond the way that it's laid out and permit that. The site plan provides the location of the stormwater pond as a buffer between the commercial and residential properties, so moved that building to the front of the property instead of having it at the back of the property. The approved NCDEQ permits will be required before issuance of the building permit. The proposed site plan provides for 65 off-street parking spaces, 62 of those being standard and 3 handicap. This number is 4 below the maximum allowed per town ordinance for retail and restaurants, and obviously meets the minimum size. The applicant is meeting buffer and landscaping requirements, as well as honoring the 10-foot easement along Edgewater Way. The applicant has submitted architectural renderings for the proposed building. The renderings include a covered porch, parapets, adhered architectural stone, false windows, a shade structure, and a metal canopy with an integral gutter as architectural elements. The building height will not exceed 20 feet. Again, our ordinance allows up to 48. It won't exceed 20. This item was heard at the November Planning Board meeting. The board voted to recommend approval. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Kyle is also here with the engineering firm and is happy to answer any questions you may have as well.
Come on up, Kyle.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, council, and thank you, mayor, for being here tonight. The first thing that I have to talk about is what a treat it was to come here tonight and see Colby Strickland be awarded, special recognition by the police department chief, and for the chief to actually say that professional development is so important to him. That's a great value. That's something that the department certainly should be proud of, and subsequently the town should be proud of as well. Appreciate being able to be here for that. Thank you so much, Chief. Also, I'd like to thank everyone that shared. Thank you for being willing to share, ideas to help solve the concerns for the property. Obviously, we've heard some of those concerns. By the way, Kyle Herring, 2018 Eastwood Road, if you need my address. So I appreciate John, Jerry, Pam, David. I appreciate all of them sharing their concerns. So, when you talk about, a lot of people talk to engineers and they say, well, what's the most important thing you do as an engineer? A lot of people say, math, science, design stuff. The most important thing that we do as engineers is we protect people. That's what our job is. So I wanted to talk a little bit about, there's been a lot of concerns raised about the ingress and egress configuration for the site. This property, as far as you know, it's never been rezoned, correct? It's always been commercial?
It's been commercial as long as I know.
So when this property was purchased, it was deeded 2 curb cuts onto Edgewater Way, conveyed with the property. We're only proposing to use 1. And so we've talked a lot about congestion and wait times at the light. Those obviously are a nuisance. Congestion can lead to issues, but let's make sure that we consider, the protection of people if you start considering, we've heard people talk about, another access point off 210. Well, with this site, everyone is going to go to that light. When you leave this site, everyone is going to have to go to the light. There is no way that you can get a safe full movement onto 210, which would mean, Highway 50. There's no way you can get a safe full movement. So even if you had a ride-in, people could enter the site, and if you had a ride out, they would still end up at the same light. So everyone is going to go to that light, period. Okay, and I have 5 primary concerns with adding another egress point to this site. The first one is unsafe entry movements off of 50. So you're going to add, if people are trying to enter the site from there, you're going to have people that are going to stop short. People aren't going to realize they're going to try to turn to the light at Edgewater. You're going to have people braking abruptly as people try to turn into the facility. The second one, just additional BUA and impacts and improvements that are going to have to be maintained out in the right-of-way. Improper movements, if you went with a ride-in there, people are going to try to go out there. So, and then another concern about the truck, the vehicular movements. It's anticipated that a delivery vehicle is not going to be coming from the island to deliver to this restaurant. So they're going to prefer to enter off of Edgewater into the site. If it's right in, they're not going to be able to get out onto 210. Probably the biggest safety concern that we have, and the reason that a lot of times that configuration is not used, is it short circuits the light. So as you can imagine, as traffic backs up, people try to go to Edgewater Way. I mean, how tragic would it be if somebody tries to zoom through the parking lot and somebody's having lunch with their family, and then you have a pedestrian, somebody wasn't paying attention, they're trying to short circuit that light, get onto Edgewater, so. And the last point to make is Edgewater is a lower speed limit than 50. So, that leans itself to a safer movement to get out onto Edgewater. So that's all I have. I appreciate you again. I'm here for questions, comments, concerns.
Have any comments concerning the drainage on the backside there? Because I know that the backside of that property is wet, and I know that a lot of the property owners on the backside have a lot of issues with like flooding and retaining walls.
Yeah, so that's the natural conveyance for the site. We have to capture the 10-year for this one. We're attenuating up to the 10-year for this storm. Since we are in close proximity to SA waters, the requirements from the NCDEQ are more stringent. So that's the natural property conveyance, and we are getting easements from adjacent property owners that will potentially help their drainage issues. So it would convey down and then fan out to existing grade to the water body. And then also the emergency spillway would follow a similar topography. If it did go over the spillway, it would find its way down to that conveyance that we're creating.
I only got a question for you. So I was under the understanding that Department of Transportation would not allow you to be on 50, have an ingress egress on 50. Is that correct? Am I stand to be corrected or on that, yes or no?
No.
So that has not happened because I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we originally were looking at that option. However, we had safety concerns with that option.
Okay, so okay. So you have not been told no by the Department of Transportation for that on an entrance on 50, Highway 50, 210 there. You've not been told that?
No, we have not been. Okay. We've not been told absolutely no.
So I want to make sure I'm very clear. I'm very excited about another restaurant in Surf City. Mm-hmm. So don't think I'm asking those questions, but I want to make sure I understand the facts here. So most of your concern, you and your company, the engineering company, have the concerns about the traffic, but you've not investigated any methodology of coming onto 210 Highway 50. Is that correct? Into the restaurant.
When you say methodology,
come into the restaurant. Mm-hmm. You've not had any discussion with Department of Transportation about entering the restaurant from Highway 50.
Yes, we have had discussion with them very early in the phase.
Early in the phase, but they didn't say no, and you didn't say, that was just.
They didn't say no, but we felt from a safety standpoint that was not a safe approach for this restaurant. Yeah.
Can I get you to repeat something? You've said it, and I heard it. I want you to repeat it, because the people that I've had in contact with Waterside, seems to be a theme of an option that comes up, but you specifically address it as some reasons why you didn't like it. And one was, and I hadn't considered originally, was trying to shortcut the light, cut through the parking lot to beat the light, and that is the entrance off of Edgewater and a right in only off of 50. Will you hit those points again just to make sure they're on record on why you as an engineer do not like that?
Yeah, so the reason that me as an engineer is because traffic is going to back up.
In that microphone. You need that microphone, so it's just recorded. Pointer. No, I want you to stay about it,
Okay.
but it's got to be recorded.
Okay. 10-4. Yeah, so as traffic backs up in this direction, if you have a right in right here, people are not going to wait to go to the light. They're going to be impatient, and they're going to short circuit this, and that's why some of the other, even at this intersection, you can see it. I mean, there's a reason that Dollar General doesn't have an access on Edgewater. It's because when traffic backs up on Edgewater, people can cut through the parking lot and short circuit that site. Now, I'm making a generality here. Those people probably, if they're not stopping in this parking lot, they're probably not going as slow as people that are parking. So the concern is, you have a family. I have a 3-year-old. She does not listen to me in parking lots like she should. I always say, come on, kiddo, you need to listen to daddy because it's not safe. You come here, you visit the retail space, you have lunch with your family, you're walking to your car, and someone's distracted on their phone trying to short circuit this light, and it could be tragic. So that's kind of the point that I was trying to make of. And even with that, the traffic concerns, even with the right in, it is still going to put everything at this light. The only thing that you're saving with that is 200 feet down Edgewater that would be free flowing into this access point right here.
Now, Kyle, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Once again, I'm asking these questions, okay? The only thing you're saving is money by not going on 50 there and Highway 2. I'm just saying because that is a big expense to go in on an entrance there. You're going to lose parking. You're going to lose. There's a lot of things you will lose there. I'm not saying that you're not right, but let's be honest, there is a big financial savings by doing that process. It's one less thing you'll have to worry about there with the Department of Transportation. That's big money to come into there and to do an ingress lane. Is that correct?
I mean, to your point to add asphalt and
curbing, tile, the whole night, whatever you've got to put in there, right? I mean, it is costly. So I don't want to. Your point is well taken, but there is, remember, you're going to have that other point also too. I personally wouldn't think about zooming through the parking lot. If I just I would come into the restaurant. But I understand your point, though.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, and the other point that I was trying to articulate, which sometimes it gets a little drowned out in my Duplin County accent, is just that when you talk about the traffic at this light, it is all going to be here no matter what you do. Does that make sense?
How is
He's saying if you go in that parking lot, when you leave, unless you're going back to Waterside, you're going to the light.
Yeah,
whether you come out on 50 or whether you come out on.
I guess my question is, if you look at Dollar General, across the street. How is that, because Dollar General has its own entrance on and off, on and out, right? How is your setting in retrospect, how is your setting into that? Is it about the same setup as far as land, space, everything as Dollar General has? Because they do it quite well. I'm just saying, I'm not saying.
I can't remember
Okay.
what Dollar General looks like adjacent.
Okay. And I'm not saying that's not a pain in the ass to get out of Dollar General, so don't say I'm not saying that. But I'm saying is, do you have the same type of property, same size property? Because they come in and out fine. Well, it's not fine, but they come in and out.
One
But I
thing
guess
that makes it easier for them knows they're on the other side of the light.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And I was going to ask,
we
do they
can't
have,
completely compare
but do
them.
they also have, they have a center turn where they can enter from the,
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this, and I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm listening to what they're saying about coming in and having your own entrance off of 210 and 50. That's what Dollar General has, that's what a lot of, if you go up 210 and 50, that's what a lot of places have. And I sympathize with the people that live in Waterside, because if, we all know what that traffic light's like, but the people that are at that traffic light are doing one of two things. They're either going straight, or they're making, if you're coming towards the island, you're making a left turn and you're going into Waterside. It won't take long for the people that visit this restaurant, when they pull out and they look over here and they see all the traffic that's backed up, or even if they have to kind of nose their way through the traffic that's going out of Waterside, to make that turn and go to Belt. Go to that road, Belt Drive, is that what it's called? Belt Road?
He's saying use the main access road
In other
through
words,
Waterside to a
what
back entrance that
what I
they have.
anticipate happening is everybody that's going to come there after their second visit to that restaurant, they're going to know that it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to make the right turn and go through the neighborhood. Well, now you're dumping more cars through that neighborhood that don't belong in that neighborhood. And I can sympathize with these people because I've walked these neighborhoods, and they're kids ride bikes, kids play in the driveway, balls rolling out of the driveway, and you've got somebody that's leaving a restaurant, and they're just trying to get home. So they say, well, I'll go this way because I can cut through this neighborhood and get out to Belt. So I anticipate that problem more so than people coming in from 210 and 50 with your own private driveway. People do it, and I've been to the dollar store, and I think everybody here's been to the dollar store, and if you want to come back to the island from that dollar store, you have to wait your turn to get out of there. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll make the right turn, and I'll go all the way down, and I'll go to CVS and turn around and come back that way, because it's a lot easier than it is to wait at that light. I think you're overthinking the safety factor. And I think that's DOT's job to determine whether or not you're allowed to go and cut that road and make it, whether they're allowed to come down and have the middle lane to turn, whether you're making a right or a left to go into that restaurant. But I have to say
they are not going to allow a full movement in there.
Okay,
From the backside, it would,
Okay, but they still allow
But
movement.
I mean, I guess, but you probably wouldn't do that because you're just going to turn at the light to enter the restaurant.
Off the bridge, there's a lane that you go into Edgewater. I couldn't expand that lane like you got.
Miss Peggy. No.
Now's not the time.
So I think the question is, the proposal never reached DOT to get a yes or a no at this point, because there was a decision made to use, which is your right, the entrance and exit on the other road.
Which we were deeded to.
Right, you have every right to do it, and that's fine, but that was still also a decision to just go that route and not reach out and follow through with DOT to get a plausible denial necessarily, which leaves a lot up in the air. And just like that, it is your right, but it's also a choice for you to do that over the other one, which you're using as kind of a safety risk, but you chose to put the one road over there. So what if you just chose, if they said okay to put the one road on 5210, then you wouldn't have that potential. So there's a lot of hypotheticals there that work when you're trying to plead your case, so to speak, but it's also based on your choices.
Yeah, and if you did just remove this access and go with the access here, you would only be able to get in and out of this restaurant going northbound. So you would have to travel somewhere down here, turn around, and come back up to enter. And that's a consideration as well.
That's kind of a fact of life here.
Yeah.
I don't want to put it that way, but I mean,
Well, and we
have,
certainly-
if you've, you've come down here and sat at that light in July, sat at that light in, August, September, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. There's a lot of places here that you have to kind of go over and above navigating to get into where you want to go. That's just, it's just what we're at. I would suggest, or I would think it would be advantageous to go back to DOT and ask them, or put this proposal to them to say, would we be allowed to do it? Now, if they absolutely say no, well, then there's really no alternative, is there? But without even looking into that, I think that would just put a lot of stuff behind you if they come up and they say, yes, you can.
I guess if they say we can, is that going to be a requirement?
Zoning ordinance would not require a secondary access.
I'm not talking about secondary access. I'm talking about access in and out of that restaurant from 210 and 50.
So they would have an access. So they have, if they have an access off of Edgewater, I don't have something in the zoning ordinance that says you have to have 2 accesses or 3 accesses or whatnot.
I think it's going to create the same situation. But if you're on 210 and 50, I think it just might be, it won't be the same situation. You have a free flow to come into that. You make a right turn, you go in. This way, like you said, they're waiting at the light either way. And that puts a lot of burden inside that development. Because it'll be a matter of time before people figure out to come out of that development, to come out of your restaurant and make a right turn and head down through the development to get the belt.
And I think you're right, John, absolutely, but just to consider this too, and I'm not saying that 50 is the answer, and I'm not saying leave it on Edgewater, but I think there's something, it just dawned on me when you said that. I said, man, I think we're missing this. If it's a right turn out, and they see the same traffic that you're talking about if they go out Edgewater, they're still gonna make that right turn and take Edgewater.
So for me, there's a.
That's what I'm saying.
So.
Oh, you mean, yeah.
Yeah, they would get it there, man, I'm not gonna wait in this traffic, let's
Yeah.
just turn here. So what I'm saying is, I don't know that we've solved the problem of the
It
Edgewater.
just makes it easier to come out of the restaurant and make a right.
So the biggest concern, John, with coming out a right onto 5210 is that the people that are going right are intending to go down 5210, and now they're merging into another lane with people. They're merging through a turn lane into a through lane in less than 200 feet. There is a significant concern for rear-end collisions, side swipes, and T-bones. Now, the right end, I will not argue as much. I don't think it's going to provide the relief that the citizens are hoping for, because you're looking at a fourth or less of the traffic making that right turn in when you're looking at all of the traffic, because you've got to account for the traffic coming in and turning left in, as well as traffic coming from Belt Road, traffic coming from J.H. Batts. Not everybody is coming from the beach to eat at this restaurant.
During peak seasons, most of the people are probably coming from the beach.
In peak season, I don't leave the beach. So I only eat on the
But
beach.
you live
I mean,
here.
That's the difference. But
During
like,
peak season, most of the people
I'm
here
not
don't go
crossing
out
the
to
bridge.
eat. You know better.
that's the
The
difference. Like,
proposals I was getting from people in the neighborhood, which I thought, and that's why I asked you to bring up those downsides again, because you'd hit a couple I hadn't considered. A few of the people in the neighborhood I was talking to, and I was like, man, that may be something we can hang our hat on, was to right in only, and the Edgewater Drive. The thought being, and this was some other people's thought, not mine, I'm not smart enough, of the 900 trips you got, maybe you've eliminated some of the Edgewater traffic because they're coming from the island to get in versus having to turn in there. Now, whether that's a real mathematical thing or not, I don't know. But I was like, hey, man, I can see where you're hanging your hat on that.
I think one thing to consider, though, is by adding this right in here, what are you really getting? Well, what you're getting is just less traffic on this light to a free flowing. There's nothing stopping people here, so they're just going to go to the light and just free flow into the parking lot, as opposed to you're just entering the parking here. Like this segment is not really a traffic burden or an area that is going to be burdened by that, because of the configuration of there's already a turn lane here. So people are already, gonna make, make that movement without congesting that movement with someone who's coming and trying to go into here, and someone trying to go on Edgewater doesn't realize that they're going to the restaurant. And now all of a sudden you create a rear end because they think they're going to the light, when really they're just making this turn into here. So, or even, people slowing down, not realizing they're gonna clip somebody's bumper. This person slows down faster, they don't get around them. So I think, considering, this, you're talking about a free-flowing section of road.
When you say free-flowing, how many feet from the intersection to the entrance to that restaurant?
About 250-ish.
Okay, so what are we talking, 7, 8 cars, 10 cars?
250. You're probably talking closer to 12, 15.
Okay, so you're still going to have congestion on that road. I'm talking summertime. I'm not talking now. Now you won't. Now you'll have somebody coming to school, leave in the morning, coming in the afternoon. But in the summertime, you will have people. There will be. It won't be a free-flowing. It won't be what you call or what I would consider free-flowing.
So
Free-flowing is me making a turn and not seeing anybody in front of me for 200 yards, and that's not going to happen.
Well, I guess there's congestion into Waterside.
In and out. People are coming out. People are going in.
Backed up all the way from inside of Waterside.
Well, it could be.
out
You know,
here.
depending on what time of the day and who's going to the beach and who's going to the store and who's doing the thing. You know,
But I
was-
guess to that point, then you're gonna see people do that.
Kyle,
Potentially.
you're absolutely
Sorry.
correct. People
Yeah.
like to cut through
I'm talking
anywhere
far
and
too
everywhere
much.
that they can, especially in the
Yeah.
summertime when traffic is backed up. They will find a place to cut through. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it sounds like right now that I don't know if we're going to make a decision tonight.
I would like to ask a question that's changing gears. I hope to get it in. I meant to get it in earlier, but some of the people in the residents have asked me specifically, and I was going to put it out there to you. There's concern about construction vehicles early in the start and damaging a road that they own. Is there any type of bond that's put in place to repair the road back if it's damaged due to construction efforts of y'all building this building?
DR Horton still owns the roads? Yes. So so with the deeded curb cuts, we were deeded, 2 cuts on Edgewater. Now, we have to, repair any areas associated with that. We will have utility repairs as needed on there, but to my knowledge, there is no bonding that will occur between,
I think the fear is, it is DR Horton right now, but when they build out, they'll turn that HOA over to the residents, and the residents will be responsible for that road, and they feel like if it's been damaged or rutted due to construction, all of a sudden they're having to foot the bill for that building. And/or how much damage is created by the extra up to 450 cars that are traveling to go to the restaurant. Is there any, what's the word I'm looking for, obligation to help maintain that private road when it becomes, because it's regardless, it's a private interest, no matter who owns it. Technically, it's privately owned.
There's nothing to my knowledge that's going to require that. Like I said, that right was conveyed with the property for that connection, and it's always been, zoned as commercial, as far as we can recall. So the intent was always to have a commercial development here with up to 2 curb cuts. So, we felt that this site, as proposed, did not necessitate a second curb cut on Edgewater. Obviously, through design, we've tried to be cognizant of where they access Edgewater for safety, but is there an anticipated turnover to the town of the roads?
But there's no guarantee that the town will do that either. So
I
those
guess-
have the potential to remain private forever, which means the HOA has to maintain those roads, which means they're fiscally responsible for all of the roads, including that 200 feet at the front, which now gets an extra 450 cars on it a day. Which, again, it's your right to do this. We're not saying that you can't, but finding a way to alleviate some of that would probably make your neighbors and probably some of your best clients a lot happier and more likely to visit your establishment and not want to sit in front of your entrance on their bikes. So just keeping that in mind, it's nice to have a good relationship with your neighbors, and I don't know that they feel like they've been reached out to. And obviously, I think with the lack of even reaching out to DOT to see if the entrance on 5210 was an option, I would like to make a motion that we table this item to allow for staff to continue to work with the applicant.
I have a question before that, if I could. Amy, do we have any similar scenarios throughout this town where commercial traffic pulls into a neighborhood to gain access to a commercial establishment?
Behind Harris Teeter?
Yeah, behind Harris Teeter.
Is that Alston? No.
I will say that that was a part of the plan of this project.
The thing behind Harris Street, there's a whole roadway that goes back there. I'm talking about a right turn into a neighborhood, 200 feet.
It is the neighborhood, but you're also in the commercial section of that neighborhood. So to the mayor's point, it's very similar to Austin Boulevard in that the out parcels are zoned C3, and then you go into the residential commercial area, or the residential area behind that. So it's very similar to Harris Teeter.
Okay, I was just wondering. Sorry, go ahead. Continue. Sorry.
Austin's a town road?
It is now.
May I make a motion? I would like to make a motion to table the item to allow for staff to continue working with the applicant and NCDOT to determine if there's a possibility for access off of NC50.
I second that.
And Edgewater.
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion is tabled. Thank you, Kyle. Like your Duplin accent. All right, next item is the Terraces preliminary plat modification approval.
Terraces Development. Thank you. So this project was zoned MFC CU, which was prior to me, with the following conditions: to allow for single-family homes, to provide some pedestrian connectivity, provide water connectivity, and then a couple of buffers. After rezoning, the preliminary plat was approved by the Town Council on January 2nd, 2018. Through the Army Corps of Engineers wetlands permitting process, changes were made to the site plan that was originally approved in 2018. And were presented to TRC, which was the addition of portico, the connection to Trellis Road to provide connectivity to the adjacent property, and the removal of the connection of Rosedale Drive to the adjacent property. Appendix B of our subdivision regulations that were in place at this time have our procedures for review and approval of subdivision plats. The final plat shall be submitted not more than 12 months after the date on which the preliminary plat was approved. So this has been going through phases for a while now. So we started with phase 1 on March 2nd, 2021, which was less than a year after the revised approval, and there were 24 lots. And then we did phase 2, which was 12 lots, phase 3, which was 8 lots, phase 4 of 17 lots, phase 5, which was 2 lots, phase 6 of 7 lots, and phase 7 of 6 lots. Phase 7 completed the original 76-home subdivision. 3 lots were shown on the map as future development, and they did not receive a lot number. The applicant has worked with NCDEQ to update the state stormwater permit to allow the built-upon area associated with the additional lots. So there's some additional wooded wetland area that's going to be added to this site to allow for these 3 lots to be built. So all improvements associated with the development have already been installed as these lots are infill in the current subdivision. So they're requesting a modification to the preliminary plat for the terraces to add the 3 lots to the subdivision.
You good with it?
I am.
The motion, we approve it.
Yeah, I second. Yeah.
All right, it is requested that the town council consider approval of the plat modification as presented. Do I have a motion?
You made a motion. I second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is the Terraces final plat map approval.
I would like to request final plat for the 3 maps that we just received preliminary plat for in the terraces. I can read back through it if you would like, but
It's fine, no.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Plat map is approved. Next item is advanced auto site plan by the lady in the red shoes again.
On behalf of Gaskins and LaCroix, they are requesting site plan approval for the attached retail development. The proposed development includes the construction of a 6,889 square foot advanced auto retail store and its associated driveway, parking, utilities, and stormwater management infrastructure. The total site is 1.19 acres, with 0.95 acres being disturbed. The property is an outparcel for the Surf City Crossing development located on NC Highway 210, Surf City, North Carolina, and is adjacent to the Mod Wash Car Wash. The subject property does not have direct access to NC 210, as it is an outparcel of the existing shopping center. An internal driveway on the connector road between Austin Boulevard and Wilkes Lane will provide access to the site. The shopping center provided a traffic impact analysis to NCDOT as a part of the original construction. All roadway improvements were installed at that time. No additional improvements along NC 210, Wilkes Lane, or Austin Boulevard will be required. Some key points are the site will receive water and sewer from the town of Surf City. They will utilize subsurface infiltration basins to collect and treat stormwater. A sidewalk will be placed along the NC 210 frontage connecting to the existing Mod Wash sidewalk. The proposed site plans for off-street parking per town ordinances of 1 space per 225 square feet of gross floor area or 34 parking spaces. The landscaping buffers have been provided to meet the town ordinances. The architectural renderings are in your packet for review. As an outparcel, they had to tie in with the Harris Teeter, so I know it's bright advanced red, but there are some elements that tie into the existing Harris Teeter Shopping Center. This was heard at the November 14th, 2024 Planning Board meeting, and the board voted to recommend approval of the site plan as submitted. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
So they're not going to have an entrance from 210?
No,
They're
sir.
going to use the parking lot like...
Like they should, yes, sir.
Yes, right. That's what I was like, sure.
That's the way the original plan was set up, was for the outparcels to have internal access only.
Yeah, that's good.
Does anyone have any questions?
No.
All right, if no one has, all right.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second by the town council to approve the site plan as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Advanced auto parts. Yeah,
Anybody having a bad break
that's
since
approved. All right, let's move forward to manager's report.
Ta-da-ta-da.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, residents and those in attendance. I've got several items to go over, so please bear with me. And of course, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those. First item on the list is the Banks Channel Navigation Project. We talked about this a little bit with the easement resolution, but essentially Norfolk Dredging, who's the awarded contractor, will be towing equipment to the Surf City area around December 23rd. We'll shut down for Christmas and we'll return on December 28th to essentially run the pipe, and they're anticipating starting pumping sand around January 5th. The town has received all necessary permits except for NCDOT for the road cut, but have been working directly with them and anticipate permit issuance very soon. They're working to complete the project by March 31st. The solid waste request for proposals went out, and we held a mandatory pre-bid meeting on November 22nd. We did have 3 separate vendors attend that meeting. There were several questions, and based on the question, an addendum has been issued in light of the questions, and to allow the vendors to be able to submit an accurate bid. The deadline for submittals has been pushed 1 week to December 16th. A formal public bid opening will occur on this date. The boat ramp closure, just as a reminder, and town staff has put out a message board sign out at the site to catch anybody that's been using it recently. But the Soundside Park boat access area will be closed beginning on December 16th for a few months to allow contractors to come in and make necessary repairs and improvements to the ramp and floating dock structures. We did receive communication from Wildlife, just reassuring that they were on schedule for everything. So we're set. We're good to go on that project to start on December 16th. The Mainland Business Owners Meeting. So the town will host another outreach meeting on December 18th. This time for our mainland business owners. Topics of the informational session will range from NCDOT projects to ordinance revisions to other utility projects that are ongoing.
What date was that? I'm sorry.
That is December the 18th.
At what time?
I think it's at 2 o'clock, but I can go back and re-verify. We've sent out emails to registered businesses trying to target mainland business owners, but we'll continue our outreach efforts. So if you haven't got anything, let me know, please, and I'll reassure.
When was that meeting?
It'll be here. Yep.
Thank you.
The Parks Master Plan, so ongoing project to develop or revise our Parks Master Plan. Part of that is to solicit survey responses and input to help guide the future of Surf City Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. That survey can be accessed via the parks website or the town's social media. To take the survey, your input does matter and will help guide future investment and improvements in town. At the Earl G. and Inez Batts Recreation Complex, additional pedestrian crossings and signage were installed today. I did not get word of completion, but it was only expected to take today to help bring awareness to pedestrians crossing from the playground to the picnic shelter and restroom area, as well as closer to the entrance of the park. Where it connects through the parking lot from the skate park over to the shelter has been a high traffic area for pedestrians, and we just want to make sure vehicles and pedestrians are taking note of that. On the Earl G. and Inez Batts Recreation Complex, and specifically the skate park, I just wanted to address this briefly this evening, and the town will be putting out additional information after the meeting, but the town has received a lot of input on the use of scooters at the skate park. We heard public comment this evening on this. Through the inception and design led by our skate park design team, to the rules that were vetted through the advisory committee, it was understood that scooters were not going to be an acceptable form of use at the park. There are several reasons for this that I'll help clarify. Number one is safety concerns. The design and dynamics of scooters differ significantly from skateboards, rollerblades, and BMX bikes. Mixing different equipment in the skate park increases the risk of collisions and injuries, as each type of rider uses the space differently. The second item is damage to the facilities. The construction of skate parks is specifically tailored to accommodate the skateboards and BMX bikes. Scooters can cause unique wear and tear on ramps and rails, leading to maintenance issues, and potentially reducing the lifespan of the park's features. There's a traffic flow issue, as skate parks are often busy, and the inclusion of multiple types of equipment can disrupt the natural flow of movement. And while we understand this policy may be disappointing to scooter riders, our goal is to ensure the skate park remains a safe and enjoyable environment for its intended users. We do encourage scooter enthusiasts to enjoy their activity in designated or open areas better suited to their needs. I heard a couple of things regarding public comment that I know that the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee is actively working on. And that is engagement with the community to help clarify things, and also to perhaps bring awareness to the appropriate uses within the skate park. So programs are going to proceed from this point forward, and they had already been working on that. Also, too, for input regarding scooters and use of those and adequate and appropriate facilities. Again, I go back to the survey. Please fill out the survey. If there's a desire and a demand, that Parks and Rec Department and the Advisory Committee listens to those responses, and I assure you they will respond and act accordingly to that. I'd like to just thank you for cooperation and understanding. We received complaints out there, and that's why the enforcement action had to occur. That was not the intent. The education, the engagement, and then enforcement usually follows after that. So we hope to continue to engage the community on that. Another point I wanted to bring up, because there's been a lot of comments within the community about it, is that the holiday lights, and we understand there may be some disappointment with this year's Christmas lights display. I personally share in some of that disappointment, in which lights have not been active but have been up on poles. A decision was made to purchase new lights due to the maintenance issues we've been having over the years with the old stock of lights, and to focus on primary locations in town along 50 Roland and the downtown area. We rely heavily on our local power supplier to assist with providing power on the poles so that we can install and energize. Some of these poles do not have the necessary hardware to do this, but they are working diligently to get this completed. Not making excuses, but I did want to bring awareness that and understanding that just like Surf City, we have sent people to the western part of the state. Our power supplier has done the same thing, so the service back to the town has been a little bit delayed, and I assure you we're going to get this right and make sure that they are lit for Christmas. So those resources have been diverted, but attention is on it, and I can tell you staff is working on that. The Broadway beach access and parking area, through Division of Coastal Management's Public Access Grant, the town was awarded funds to install a paved handicap parking space as well as additional sidewalk from the road to the restroom facilities. In addition, the town will be installing a beach mat to replace the Hatteras ramp, furthering our accessible goals within the town. Work on the parking lot and sidewalks has been completed, so we're excited about that new project down at Nova Albury Park and the Broadway access. And we'll be talking with our Shoreline and Resilience Committee, next week, and talking to them about beach mats, et cetera. And this will really set the tone as we think that the town is probably going to be moving forward with the beach mats, providing additional handicap accessibility to the ocean front. In really exciting news, we got our Vector truck today, was delivered brand new. The town received this. This truck is critical in the day-to-day operations of our utilities department. Utilities staff does a really good job at maintaining what we have, but this thing is getting pretty old. We're not going to try to sell it. We're going to repurpose this, and will be diverted over to the Stormwater Division for their routine maintenance tasks. This essentially is a big truck, big hose on it. It's pulling sand out of catch basins and trying to make sure that our stormwater amenities are taken care of. I won't get into the wastewater side of that this evening. And then lastly, I'd just like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, as we will not be in this setting until January, even though we will still have a work session. So that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Attorney.
Yeah, just a couple things. We talked about the eminent domain matters that are going to go forward, so that will go in earnest come January. So hopefully we have participation from those folks rather than having to go that route. Another bit of news is our tax foreclosure notices. The 60 days has expired. A list was sent to all the commissioners. I think it was today that the list was sent. There's about 30 parcels that have not paid their taxes. These are taxes that were due last January and have been late for nearly a year now. And we've sent notices by certified mail. We've done everything we know to collect those taxes. So now we'll be initiating tax foreclosures on it. Those owners are able to pay off the foreclosure at any time, right? So the idea from the town's perspective is not to take anybody's land, but of course just to have the taxes paid that are due on the land. So hopefully that will get some compliance, but you'll probably get some calls on that. But those are the two things I wanted to report on tonight.
Is that something that has to be paid in full?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So when we file this tax foreclosure, they're going to have to pay not only the back taxes, but the attorney fees and costs associated with filing the foreclosure. And that's why this board directed me to send notices via certified mail 60 days in advance of initiating this action, because it is a hardship on those folks that have a foreclosure initiated, but at some point it just becomes there's no other way to collect them.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we'll start with Alicia.
Thanks for everybody that showed up tonight and voiced their comments and concerns. And I think I can speak for all of us up here that we are here to listen, and we take your thoughts into heart when we make decisions. So whether it's showing up to a meeting or reaching out to one of us individually, like that's what we signed up for. So we're always here to listen. That's it.
Okay. I'd like to just say, everybody have a nice Christmas, have a good New Year, and we'll see you in January.
Hope everybody has a great Christmas. Thanks for the diehards for hanging around, man. Y'all like that.
I know we had a lot of issues to discuss. This meeting ran really long, but I think kind of tagging on to what Alicia said, I hope everybody can see that we are available to listen and talk to residents wherever we're out and about. And we don't want to make any hasty decisions, so I hope there's evidence of that tonight and some of the things that we tabled or we postponed. I wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and in the spirit of gratefulness, I'm really just pray that everybody will enjoy where we live and we work and we play here in Surf City, and enjoy the Christmas lights that are up and lit. And we did have some things we learned through this season, and I think that will continue to get better. And enjoy all the facilities and the grounds, and that means fill out the park survey and have a say-so in that. And not just the skate park, but all of the facilities that are here. I also encourage everyone to shop local and love on your neighbors who work very hard to have businesses here. And we always want a new restaurant and a new this or whatever, but the people like that, they work hard to have those businesses here, and I want to support those folks too. And just in the spirit of the holidays, I just hope we can all be thankful for what we have and be kind. So thank you.
Right. Again, thank you for coming out tonight. I know it's been a very long meeting, but that's what it takes sometimes, especially when you have an agenda like we did tonight with 4 public hearings on it. And we did listen to every one of those, I think, very thoroughly. There's still a lot of events happening throughout the month, and we encourage our citizens to participate. I think coming up, there's the flotilla next weekend, along with several other events happening. So our Christmas tree lighting was a huge success, and beautiful weather that everyone came out and enjoyed it. I want to encourage you during the holiday season to check on your neighbors. This sometimes can be a lonely place for a lot of people during the holiday season. It can also be a first Christmas without a loved one, so it's very important that we keep those neighbors in mind that we sometimes just pass by and never talk to. So I hope that everyone enjoys the holidays and be safe, and Merry Christmas. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.